a meeting, special meeting for August 9th. Please stand for a pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, please.
Allen.
Here.
Broughton.
Here.
Darnell.
Here.
DePalma.
Here.
Cordella is absent. Marshall.
Here.
Dermott.
Here. Now we need to approve the agenda, but I just wanted to discuss two things very shortly. One is a group home moratorium, and the other would be health with sewer survey.
Second, are you going to add discussion of above, or where's it going to?
Well, we can do it as discussion, because I don't want to make, I don't,
Wait for, I mean, if
well, we
people knew that was
can't,
gonna
we
be on
can't
the
make
agenda.
decisions on the agenda tonight, because we don't have.
I know, but if the homeowners knew that was gonna be on the agenda, they would have showed
No,
up for
no,
it.
I don't.
Okay.
I just want to talk to
Okay.
the board about it. It's not. So, okay, let's do discussion, and we'll put those two on really quick. Should be done in 5 minutes.
Above new business.
What was A?
A will be group home moratorium, and B will be sewer survey.
And even though I'm only here for a short time, I do have a question that maybe we can add to the discussion. Is there a hard and fast rule for when you decide to put videos on YouTube and when they're not? It seems like it's kind of a pick and choose right now. When are they?
Can you talk to me about it tomorrow when you come in, because that's something that Greg Norman does.
Okay.
And typically how it goes is our regular meetings are put on YouTube. And special meetings,
I just want to
Not
be,
necessarily.
I just want to be consistent is all, either or all, or, you know, so.
okay. So would someone like to make a motion to approve the agenda as amended?
I'll make that motion.
Support.
I have a motion by Clerk Allen and supported by Trustee Marshall to approve the agenda as amended. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed say nay. The agenda has been approved as amended. Okay, first is group home moratorium. Just wanted to let everybody know that I've gotten the several emails. I've seen most of the meeting that you had. But I've been in contact with Stuart. Stuart's been on vacation this week, so I feel like I need his thoughts on what we should do. So I just wanted to, because I asked him about the moratorium, and his response is, you can pass a moratorium, however, I do not believe it will be binding against the state licensing agency. So my question is, how do you feel about me bringing a moratorium and putting it on Monday night's agenda?
What does that do?
It would be a moratorium against group homes or whatever they were saying in their, let's see, is this second request to put a moratorium on group homes? That would be.
Oh, so
to
no
put a-
new ones?
No new. group
Gotcha.
homes.
And
You know
Stuart
what?
said what?
Since the state, so my question, this was my question to Stuart. This is the second request for us to put a moratorium on group homes. Since the state regulates them, would we be able to legally stop any AFC homes from coming here?
You know,
He
because.
says you can pass a moratorium, however, I do not believe it will be binding against the state licensing agency. So we could put a moratorium. I don't know how enforceable it would be, but I can bring it to the next meeting. So I just want to know if there's interest in me bringing something.
I would say yes.
Even if it's not able to be enforced?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I would say yes with a caveat, because I think it merits a call to Lara. The reason that this is such an urgent issue is because we've had a family that had to move out of their home, they felt, because they didn't feel safe where they were. And what's Lara's position on if, let's say a completely different company buys the home across the street, can we ask them, are you going to at some point say, look, on this cul-de-sac, we're not gonna allow it to be the group home cul-de-sac?
And I don't know what Lara does, but if you would like to call Lara tomorrow for us, that would be awesome, and then,
I can certainly
Right.
try, I don't even know where to start,
Does
but
Lara even look up, oh, there's one here, and now this person asked
They
for it.
probably
Do they
don't.
even look at the map to see
I don't
where it
know.
is?
I would
that's the
imagine
question I
probably
want
don't.
answered.
My question is do you know how long it will be till they get back with the investigation complaint? The report that Stuart filed last week saying we want clarification on our investigation, do you know how long
I don't know what.
do they have the 45 days?
I don't know.
Okay, I was just curious about that, because that in itself doesn't stop group homes, but if they actually come out and say, yes, he was in violation on those 2 days, we just didn't say it because he fixed his violation, so our report finalized and said he wasn't in violation,
Yeah,
but he was,
To
and
me,
that
that's
stops.
a different issue than a moratorium on group homes.
Well, it stops the issue that came about with that group home, because I don't think they had an issue with the group home, they have an issue with who
Well,
was in the
I
group
think they have
home.
issue with the group home now,
So,
and.
yeah, so,
Well, that's because of the
And I-
outcome of what
So-
happened.
I
So
think
if
it-
we're
They
all
don't
good,
trust it.
I'll
They don't
bring
trust it
something,
now.
and we can.
I don't mind trying, I mean, what does it hurt to try?
And I don't think any of us,
I mean,
I
I
don't
just
wanna
want to know
speak
if
for
there's
anyone else, but
an interest from a majority of me bringing something.
yes, but we're not talking about a permanent moratorium, we're just talking about a moratorium until we can get our ducks in a row.
But my question is, are we talking about no group homes period at all, no matter what? Or is it group homes that have criminals in
Well, we
them?
will be discussing that at Monday's meeting.
Because that makes a difference to me.
Right.
If
I don't
it's
think.
special
yeah.
needs people.
Right, right.
And
I would definitely not want to
I
lock
would be
them.
hoping to get a hold of Stuart on Monday so that he could help me
Okay.
with some kind of.
Well, and.
I sent an email out to everybody with some ideas I had, additional ideas I had on some of the things. And I carbon copied it to Stuart, so maybe you'd ask him about that. Obviously, if he's not, in his office, he's not gonna get it until Monday when he comes back in. But I think there's other things that we could do. But I like the moratorium idea for no other reason, because it just creates another stumbling block for somebody to have to deal
Well, we
with
can-
before they actually come in.
And we can talk how long we want to put it in place. I mean,
Okay.
I'm hoping
So
that.
it's not on the meeting packet, but we'll have to add it, it'd be something we'd have to add, so.
I'm hoping that once the new Attorney General's in place, we write a second letter and we get an answer.
When does that happen?
January.
I
January.
was gonna say January 1st, isn't it?
Right, so that's what we can put a
We can't wait that
moratorium
long
for.
for-
No, we would do a moratorium, and I'm saying you put a time frame on a moratorium, giving us time to maybe hopefully get a letter from the Attorney General to tell us what's happening.
I also think that now that the primaries are done, residents can use the election to their advantage and be writing both potential senators and both potential representatives and see who gives them the better answer.
And the Attorney General.
I'm just saying, use the election to their advantage.
All right, my second item, if we're done with that, so I'll bring something. No, I'll finish it, but we'll bring something, and we'll put it on the agenda.
Okay.
Sewers, last year, we had that meeting with the village, and out of it came that I was gonna be talking to the business owners about their thoughts on sewers, on whether they wanted sewers, if they would be willing to contribute funding towards sewers, that type of thing. I have not had time to do that, and with me working part-time, I don't have time. I would like help, so I'm wondering if there are any board members that would like to help with that effort.
With
I'll help.
helping draft a sewer
Okay,
survey?
well, first what I'd like to do is
Yeah, I'm trying to find out what you need to
draft
help
a
us.
sewer survey, bring it back to the board, so the board can approve it, and then take it out to business owners.
Along the M15 corridor?
I'll help with that.
Kathy, when you talk about that sewer district, I mean, the M15 corridor, because I know what was talked about as for the business district, does that business district include the village? So it does, they include them?
I mean, well, it can, I mean,
It
I
could.
guess it would depend on what the interest is, so I would say the questionnaire that we would take out would.
You could probably see, I mean, I wonder if
And then
Groveland would
decide.
be okay if the business is there too, because that's the Beaky's Plaza and all that too, you know, and Rite Aid
If
and all
that's
that.
what we want to do, I don't.
Well, as I recall, when we had that meeting, the representative, I don't remember who it was, said it basically is whoever wants to be part of that group can be part of that group.
Right.
You know, so it could include
Yeah,
village.
because it would be a special assessment.
Right,
district.
exactly.
Yay.
Yeah.
Well, you can't include Beaky's then, because I can't put a special assessment on Groveland Township.
No, they'd have to
Groveland would
do,
do that.
Right,
they would do their
have
own
to do
special
their own.
assessment and then they would put it into the pot.
So they'd have to work with us.
Those are
And
gonna
if
be.
you
Yeah,
wanted-
then they would have to work.
They
And
would
I know
work with
I know some residents who are really interested in trying to push for sewers. If you want to get residents involved, let me know, I can ask some of them for
Well,
a
I'm
business
looking
district.
for help with this. Are you willing to help with it?
I can help with that. You can let me know what you need.
I'm just asking.
Bob DePalma
Well,
said she
first
was
we're
okay
gonna come up
with
with questions.
First business district, yeah.
First, we're gonna come up with questions and what we're gonna ask.
Are you gonna clear that with the village board as well?
I think for the business district, it's a great
Okay.
idea.
The village board doesn't want
They
anything
don't want
to do with
anything to do with
sewers.
that.
Nothing.
I know.
All the way. Yeah.
So if it was, it would have to be something that
But you're gonna
would
be
be
setting this to
self-sustaining.
village businesses.
But the village businesses can pay
But the
this
village
off,
businesses
sad
are
to
also
us.
township
They are
businesses.
also
I
township
won't be here for
businesses.
that vote, but I'm just saying, you're stirring a hornet's nest, and I think you should just be keeping everybody aware of what you're doing.
But they are
You won't be here
township,
for
but they
that
are
vote.
township businesses.
I don't.
What he's saying is let
any
the village
sewer
know
vote's
we're
gonna
doing
come up
this.
long after
Because the
I'm
villages
gone.
Oh.
already said no.
Unless you're back.
Unless you're back.
Unless somebody dies in the next 6 months or so, I guess I'll be back. Well, I'm not gonna be back for the next 2 years, so.
I wouldn't come.
Yeah, you don't know that. We'll have to talk.
God has a
Are
Okay.
you going somewhere?
So anyways, Candy and Dana are willing to help? Okay. That's all I wanted to know. Okay, so we'll go on to new business, Brandon Fire Department Hazard Mitigation Plan or Resolution.
What you have in front of you is the adoption of the Oakland County Hazard Mitigation Plan. It's something that's required in order to receive FEMA funding, should we ever have a disaster here. We've already adopted the plan, the emergency plan, if you will, a couple of years back. This is just the next step of that is agreeing to the Oakland County Hazard Mitigation Plan and adopting that as an official plan, if you will. And that'll allow us that, as I said, if there's a disaster, flooding, tornado comes through and they declare a disaster, that's the only way that we will have a chance to see any federal funds come to us. We have to adopt this and we have to do it by resolution.
Okay, would someone like to make a motion to adopt the Oakland County Hazard Mitigation Plan Resolution as presented?
I'll leave that.
Everybody's gonna fight over that one.
Did you already second it, Bob?
Yeah, that's
Go ahead. No, it's all you.
All right, Dana made the motion and Bob the seconding. Okay.
I hope we never have to use it.
Yeah.
Keep our fingers crossed, right?
Are you okay with that, Courtney? So I just read the top thing, plan, resolution. Okay. By DePalma, seconded by Marshall. Okay, any discussion or questions for the fire chief?
Thank you, chief.
All right, it's a resolution, so we have to do a roll call.
Journal,
Yes.
DePalma,
Yes.
Cordella is absent, Marshall,
Yes.
Allen,
Yes.
Broughton.
Yes.
Thurman.
Motion carries unanimously. That was the easy one. Okay, part-time eligible employee. By the clerk.
Okay, so I hired Roslyn back in 2015 as a part-time. She's working very well. I would like to, I've asked you to increase her hours to the 24 hours a week, an average of, which is what we already have in place. But Fred has had a hard time hiring a person to do his programming and work Wednesdays, because that's Kara's normal day off. So Roslyn's been filling in on that. So I'm asking that we give her an average up to 32 hours a week.
And then it's gonna come out of Fred's budget and your budget?
Yeah, and we already budgeted for it. He's got his money, I already had mine. Mine isn't actually increasing, it's just a combination. For election, of course, she worked over.
I find her very pleasant to work with,
Good.
so I will make your motion
I'll support it.
as presented.
I'll support it. I just was shocked when you said 15. I'm like, it's been 3 years already?
Yeah,
I know, I'm like, time just flies.
and she's very, very helpful.
Yeah, and Fred needs,
Pleasant, friendly,
and then
yeah.
Fred needs to help, so it's good for her to get some more hours.
We call her the out on the shelf.
The also
You never know where she's gonna pop up.
I can't find that.
And she's really good about jumping from one to the other, and it's good to have a person in the building.
That can
It
do
was
that.
Brenda.
You can just
So
have-
Brenda's morning and building, and the afternoon she's
I
not.
can share opportunities.
Yeah.
It just makes sense to have one person in the office.
Right.
So Fred was absolutely in agreement with all this. He's
Okay.
got the money, so
Okay.
he too is on vacation. Here's Stuart.
Just as an aside, how's the search for a part-time employee for the building department going? Is that still underway?
That's on our
It's
Monday
on our
agenda.
Monday night.
Oh, it is? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's someone in the chair.
I was gonna say, I've seen somebody over there, I just haven't.
Oh, okay.
I've spoken to her on the
Can't
phone.
find her?
Scott gave me this. Thank you, Scott. I've got like 4 agendas.
That's okay, I don't need mine, it's fine.
Okay, so are you making the motion?
No, Mr.
I made it.
Brennan.
Oh, okay.
And Dana seconded.
And Dana seconded?
Yes.
All right, I have a motion by trustee Bratton and a second by trustee DePalma to make Rosalind Blair part-time eligible to the clerk and recreation starting immediately for up to an average of 32 hours a week at the same hourly pay rate per the policy, which for her right now is $13.59.
Yes, and she actually earned that as of this week, Monday.
Okay,
Increase went up.
okay.
Now, my question is this going to make her part-time eligible?
If it's over 25 hours, it will make her part-time eligible.
Okay, I don't have that in there. Oh, I do.
You do. It's a
Sorry.
part-time eligible.
Yeah.
I wrote this on July 12th.
Yeah, I know.
I had a lot between me. Okay.
Any questions or discussion on this? All right, let's do a roll call, please.
DePalma,
Yes.
Cordell is absent, Marshall,
Yes.
Allen,
Yes,
Bratton,
Yes.
Durnow.
Yes.
Herman.
Yes, motion carries unanimously. Okay, so
thank
now-
you.
You're welcome. Now we can go on to our workshop. Our strategic planning, which we usually do in the spring, which we didn't do this year. So we usually go through our SWOT and update that.
It's got a staple on there.
Okay, so the first page is strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. I made a couple notes. I think one of our weaknesses is we have fewer children in our township.
Yes.
Does everybody agree with that?
Yes.
Don't ask me.
It's,
Yeah.
but you know,
I'm not a kid.
see, I don't like the wording of
Because-
that though. It's not due, it's just a fact of demographics. It's not a weakness of ours. It is
It's
a
not
fact.
just us.
I don't think it's fewer children. I think there's fewer children in our school district. I don't think
I
our
think that's a fair
population
statement. I do.
has gone
Because-
down.
Well,
I think
didn't-
it's out of our
but
school.
Would
That's-
we,
Is that
That's
anything that we have?
We don't have control over
Yeah.
it.
I don't like listing that as a weakness because we're already blamed as the board for the lack of issues,
Kids
for the
in the
issues
school.
with the school.
If you read all these things, they're not things we can control.
I
They're
understand
just,
that.
they're
Well,
Why
So
just
here's
give
my
more
question.
fires to grow?
observations.
We just
They're just
did-
observations.
we just did our survey. We all had to turn in our thing with who's living in your household, that whole thing that came over this spring. When do we get the results of that?
I never saw it.
I never
When did
saw
that
that.
I'm
come
sad I
on?
didn't see it.
Where
What?
did
I
it
never
come
got
from?
Uh-uh.
I never got one.
Somebody's stalking you, Dana.
Was it-
had a special
Was it from
survey.
the school?
No, it wasn't from the school.
It wasn't from us. Who was it from?
The government.
As far as you know.
Which government?
Chinese government?
I think Russia was about.
Russia, yeah, there you
I'll
go.
have to go back and find it.
No, I
think
didn't
it-
get one.
If anything, I would put it under threats versus weakness.
We're not doing that till
It's
20.
a threat, but it's not a weakness somehow.
The census is every time.
Yeah, the census is
Is everybody
2020.
okay with that, putting it under a week as
Yeah, I
a
think
threat?
that's probably more accurate.
I don't like it. I don't see what that has to do with a weakness, that we
Well,
have fewer children. What is that?
It affects our recreation department.
Yep.
That's, I don't, maybe you didn't hear, I said move it to threat versus weakness.
Oh, I did not hear that. I'm
I
sorry.
think that's a better way to categorize it.
Should we
Fewer
put-
children.
That's what you said?
I said fewer children, but
Yeah.
do we want to term it a little differently?
School enrollment declination.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That
that
could
would
be
be
better.
better.
Declining school
Declining
enrollment.
schools.
Yeah, I would like that one better.
That sounds better.
That's a
Thank
threat,
you.
Every once in a while.
Decline.
I'm done for tonight.
You had a vacation.
In school.
So now I gotta come up with two.
Well, yeah, and you have to be still prepared for your workshop C.
Oh, I'm all prepared for that one.
Why did you change it? I just think the
Fewer
school
children.
enrollment doesn't affect Parks and Rec, it's the count of children. Who, just because half of them might end up going to charter schools by the time this school district's done, so why
Decline
not?
in school-aged children.
If my kids are
School
going,
age children, that's fair.
How's that sound?
Okay,
All
that's
right.
fair.
because if my kids are going to a different school,
Right.
we're gonna participate in that school district most
Right.
likely. They're gonna be with their friends, they're gonna be on that baseball team, not come here local. I mean, 50-50 chance up here, I could say that.
When I was reviewing this, Kathy, one thing that Candy and I talked about last year as part of Parks and Rec under opportunities here, I think that longer term, it would have to probably wait till next year, but one thing I was hoping to do is approach Groveland, not require, but ask if they would be willing to be putting a little more money into our Parks and Rec kitty. So right now, I think they're getting a little bit of free ride on that. Not to require, just to ask.
When they were asked before, they gave,
Yeah.
and then there was a little fight,
But that was for a different
and
reason.
nobody's asked since,
Yeah,
so.
I know. With,
Ask Groveland for recreation
For
funding.
Parks and Rec.
Support
yeah,
it,
just to
I
help
really do.
those. I asked if they can.
Under the
Support.
opportunities?
Under opportunities, yeah, it's just, it kind of, it kind of goes under the self-funding of programs, how we're funding these things. And I just think if we had a little help from Groveland, because I've.
How do you want to term this again?
It just, it's
Increase
just an
Yes,
opportunity to,
Groveland.
I guess we don't even have to name them, but just approach neighboring communities that are using our services, if they would help fund the, I should have had the right wording for this, I didn't think of that.
Well, we're gonna come up with.
Okay,
wording.
seek funding from
Neighboring communities.
neighboring communities.
For shared, not
For shared services, that's fair, let's say
For
it that way.
services being used or something.
Yeah, shared,
like
it's what it is, shared services.
Only for Parks and Rec?
I don't know, is it also a problem for senior center?
No, because they're
Yeah,
funding the
that's what I
senior
thought.
center.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
for Parks and Rec.
I gave them a number of seniors that come over and use our facilities and get rides on our buses.
But we
and-
just have to make sure that Parks and Rec is in order before we make that approach, otherwise I would like to do that before I left, but I don't think we can do that right now.
Do they pay a higher rate?
They
For those
do,
kids
but
that
it doesn't.
are, you know, non-resident, basically?
$10.
Is that
Yeah,
what
it doesn't cut it.
Well, it was
$10,
10.
you know, it doesn't cut it.
I don't know if it's still 10 or if it's 15.
Seek funding from neighboring communities for parks and recreation.
There you go.
Shared services.
For parks and recreation, shared services. I
don't know,
thought
that-
we narrowed it down.
That's fine, Parks and Rec is
Yeah,
fine, that's
because-
fine, way to go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You don't think there's any other services that we really share?
What about the sheriff's department when they respond over there on calls?
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah.
Aren't we billing them?
No, we're giving our residents who have accidents in front of Beekys and Groveland Township are supposed to get the reduced rate. That's before when we took it to Groveland, that's what they came back with.
I'll tell you, it's so hit or miss with them. I mean, we'll go months where we will respond to a lot, and then all of a sudden, you know, they'll have 2 cars available. I mean, you just never know. They've been actually pretty good about it lately. They seem
Do you have
to.
a mutual aid
I mean, we.
Agreement with them, or?
No, I mean, we just, anything that is like a life or death, you know, we'll go for sure.
Right, yeah.
You know, the problem with those guys is, you know, after dark, if they don't have a two-man car, they don't leave the office. So often, you know, we're responding to alarms and things that we should never be able
They're
to.
state police, they're scared of them, aren't they?
I mean, it's really, it's just unusual. I mean, they
Well,
have to,
Isn't part of that, it's Oakland County and you guys don't control it, but you're Oakland County, so you're still kind of responsible because it's Oakland County and you're.
we're not
Oakland
responsible,
County.
but I mean, we, because
We're not
they have no
responsible.
force, but we will go over there on a life or death call or something that's fishy. I mean, we will go, we're not gonna leave those residents just without somebody.
Moral obligation.
Yeah, it's more, yeah.
Well, that's what, I thought there was a car that's kind of supposed to do like all of Oakland County and then like if you move there, then someone comes up or something. I don't know, there was something that I had heard, but.
Okay, on opportunities, I would like to take off extend natural gas main throughout the township. And under threats, I would like to take off lack of OPEB funding.
Well, yeah, because up in under strength, you have adequate funding. That's what I saw about under strength, it said stable population. Under opportunities, it says new home. Under threats, it says home losses. And under weaknesses, it says foreclosure. So that's kind
It just
of.
needs to be updated. This is probably carried over. from
That's why we're doing it
Right,
now.
so we need to change some of that.
Can we cross
Are
off
we
of-
good with taking lack of OPEB funding off threats?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And home losses.
Oh, yeah, because we're not doing it. Let's see, where's home, oh, home
And
losses?
Third down.
Okay, we'll take that off too.
How about not sticking to budget?
That's always a
I
threat.
guess that's always a threat,
That's
yeah.
always a
We are
threat.
trying to stick to our budget, but it's still a threat if you don't stick to it, so yeah.
What about the foreclosures under weakness if the homes are stable? Are we still, is that still a weakness, foreclosures?
Not really.
But wouldn't home losses still be a threat? I mean, there's so many homes for sale now that I've seen. There's still people leaving.
Where does it say
Quite a
home
bit up right
losses?
now.
It says residents leaving area under threats. I mean, if not sticking to budget's a threat, you could always have a threat of people leaving here.
You're seeing more than normal, Dave?
I've seen a lot.
I've seen a lot,
lately,
but
yes.
when you talk to the realtors, they're selling very quickly.
Flipping 'em.
The
Yeah.
the change is happening very fast,
Mhm.
but still, there's a lot.
Yes.
There is a lot for sale this year.
Yeah,
really.
more than like last year.
Yes. And there's two right across the
So
street
are
from
we
me.
still taking that one off, home
Taking
losses,
the first one.
residents leaving area?
Okay, where do you find that?
Right here,
Threats.
the one you already did, threats.
Oh,
You already
okay.
crossed it off, so
Sorry.
you can't see it anymore.
Yeah, we're gonna take that one off.
What about foreclosures? Or weaknesses?
See, I think there's less foreclosures. I think there's more residents leaving, but then if people are coming in
I
those
think
houses.
Right, but the
fewer-
houses aren't
I think
empty.
there's fewer foreclosures.
I think
That's
there
why
are
I'm saying
I
fewer
think that can be
foreclosures.
taken off personally.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's take that off.
I think if we had stats, home ownership in Brandon Township is an all-time high right now.
We see an awful lot of people coming in with PRE changes.
And it's okay to take off for opportunities extending natural gas main throughout the township, so since we already did
I
that.
was gonna say, I think that's done.
Yeah, so we'll take it off. Okay, anything else? Okay, let's go to the next page. The only thing I have down here, legislatively non-mandated services. We have donation to fireworks. We're not supposed to donate to anything, so I change that word to contribution.
That's okay, but what's the difference?
It's the same thing.
We're not legally supposed to donate.
Oh, okay.
So
But we can legally contribute.
Because we're buying, because we're actually, yes, we're actually
Okay.
buying part of the
Okay.
fireworks.
That's fine.
Or shared purchase of fireworks.
There you go.
There you go.
Oh, that's a good one.
Anything else anybody sees? Okay, next page. Projections, okay, 5-year projections. I don't really see more, oh, let's see, more lanes on M15.
It does say more turn.
It says
It's
more
a long-term
turn
lease,
lanes.
like where, like there
Maybe
should be
we'll-
one at Dollar General. and-
Yeah, maybe we'll get those.
Lieutenant, just out of curiosity, how many additional accidents have you found at the corner of Sashabaw and where they put the light in?
I think it's, for the word that, where they put the lot, I think it's a lot less now.
Yeah,
Is it really?
Yeah, it's
Okay.
come down
Yeah,
a
it's-
lot.
No.
It's finally even sunk
Now
into
that
this,
they've
but
gotten
now
into
it's, I finally figured it out.
But
I can't tell you how many times I saw people just sail right through
Yeah,
it.
I think it's
But we are,
finally sunk
the,
in.
the road rage stuff there seems to be up because of the backups in traffic. And I've
Oh.
actually complained to the road commission, but the accidents are down.
Yeah,
The-
good.
The road rage, the backups are out of control.
Okay, under 10-year projections, I have pathway from Village of Ortonville to Township Park. Do we want to take that off? Since
I don't.
it's- Okay,
That's along Oakwood you're talking about, yes?
not necessarily, it could be up Sands Road.
Up to Sawmill and straight over. That'd be a short way.
Yeah,
I can tell you, they talk about that in the village meetings quite frequently.
did they really?
Yeah,
Well, then let's
people
keep
want,
it on there.
people don't like the fact that, they're talking about different ways to get to Beat, because obviously that's a village issue. But when they talk about being able to walk anywhere, especially at M15, wherever there's guardrails, I mean, they only have this much space between there and the road, and there's nowhere for people to walk to get anywhere. And so
Well, do we
it's-
want to address
To the high school?
pathways on
I can't
M15
walk
on
any
here?
farther than that.
Because you're talking M15, I was talking,
No, actually, I was talking to Oakwood.
well, I'm talking Village to Township Park, but there's no route chosen.
Oh, I just was assuming Oakwood.
No,
No.
don't
Because it's
assume that.
this- No,
Mhm.
okay.
Semis, lots of semis.
Mhm.
Is that
Yeah,
why?
it's a
Yeah,
gravel
they're not
thing,
allowed
yeah.
in Oxford, but they are allowed in Brandon.
It would be easier to get funding if it was on state property, and if you go up Sands Road,
So you
you
just
get
kind of
state,
go a little out
you
of the
go,
way.
Yeah,
you
you
still
go
get
you
out
state
get state
property.
property.
Okay. Actually, that'd be a nicer way, but then again, you
Yeah.
start getting into a lot of user homes that way. But I don't know.
Do we still anticipate getting a millage for Parks and Recreation?
Be nice to work on one in 10 years. I mean, it's not gonna be immediate. But
So,
I think we need to have another Parks and Rec meeting to make sure that, before you start asking for funding, you need to make sure the parents are satisfied with what they're getting right now. And I'm not sure that's the case, and I don't know, but there's just too many rumors out there. And I'd just like to
no,
be
we
clear
might
on
be
what's going on.
bombarded Monday.
That's kind of what I was getting at, is. you know,
But do we want to keep this on here, on our sheet?
I'd keep it for
Long
now.
term.
Keep it,
Yeah.
okay.
I thought we already addressed the single garbage hauler question.
Oh,
We
we've
do
addressed
every-
it
every
back
year
and
we-
forth.
Yeah, we do it every year, because this is a 10-year down the road thing.
Yeah. Keep it on.
I'm okay keeping it on.
Some of these things probably should put a date when they first went on here. They've been on here for 20 years, maybe it's time to take it off.
Okay, 3-year objectives, 2018, which is this year. Look at implementing auditor's recommendations.
she's changing this up.
We do that every year.
Yeah, we're changing the 17 to 18, sorry. Are we still looking for additional revenue sources? I don't feel that we are at this point.
I think we should always be looking for additional revenue sources if any come up. Not that we have to go out and research it, but I think we should always be open to it.
But you're not talking taxes, though.
No.
Okay, so we want to keep on the first two. What about the third one, increase rainy day funds?
Every time that comes up, the rumored statement is, well, our auditor says 50%, but is that what we're going for? I think it's a good idea, but we never say exactly what we're shooting for. It's just, well, we have extras in these funds, but I've never seen us say what the goal is there.
Well, when our long-term goal on the next page, it says increase committed rainy day funds to 40% of general fund expenditures. I have need 90,000. And we have
You're very
Oh, you already have,
short
you already
day.
have it here. Okay, I just got ahead of you then.
Yep, and we have 7,331, so I guess we should leave that on there, huh?
I would say you leave it on there because if you don't and you just keep spending, then you're not increasing. Because we're not saying how much to increase it by.
So if something bad happens, we still try to
Increase it, yeah.
even if it's not what we.
Okay, my next question on 2018, it says research Iron Bell Trail segment.
I
Do we
think it's
want that
been
on there?
researched to death.
Yeah, I do too.
Take that off?
Yep.
Uh,
you want?
Nope.
Charge solicitors $100 permit fee. What are we charging them?
150.
All right.
Oh,
let's
all
take
right, I
off.
like
That's
that.
the 150. There we go.
That's
We've had
exactly
two in this
right.
whole year.
No, we'll
That'll
just
keep
take
my
that
running,
off. Address pension funding. I think we did that. I mean, but I think
We
that's something we
always,
need to
that's
continue.
ongoing,
Yeah.
and so
We
is the
got-
OPEB ongoing, because you never know now that it's.
We skipped the lowering speed limits on gravel roads. Have we heard anything at all from the state police about doing their speed studies?
The road commission has contacted them every time that they,
Yeah,
and they haven't done them yet.
Can we possibly look into AAA? Because AAA used to do all our traffic studies.
Can you look into it?
Yeah, I
for
yeah, I
us?
can give them a call. I'm sure the
Okay.
guy's not there anymore that used to do it for us, but they used to do all our studies, and they were always accepted by everybody. AAA was reputable, so.
Kathy skipped a whole bunch of them.
I know, because I wasn't.
I think she
Well,
thinks
I
they're
would-
just staying.
But if you.
Do you care if I just
No.
have one here?
No.
The reanalyze the healthcare benefits. How is the oversight retirement committee doing? Are they looking into that?
At our last meeting, because our OPEB funding went up, the retirement oversight committee was not interested in making any changes. But,
Exactly. There's a really good revenue source, right there. An employee is under 65 years old, the spouse is over 65. We're paying for the employee's spouse at the same rate as the employee.
I think we did
And we-
discuss
That's what
that.
I'm
We did
asking, if you
discuss
guys
it.
talked
Yeah.
about having the spouse move into
And-
United Healthcare and save boatloads of money.
and some.
Oh, the one that's over 65.
Someone wasn't Lisa supposed to research with Burnham and Flower whether or not we
We
can
can do
legally
that.
do that?
Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
because it's, the employee is
Something like
still
that.
under, so the employee is still being offered this one, and can you have the spouse be offered something different, or does the spouse have to have what the employee has, is what Lisa's supposed to look into, right? That's our question.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, okay.
Yes.
I was just curious about
I
it.
think.
No, and that's why that one
made
needs-
that suggestion.
And that is why this one needs to stay on there. We should always be reanalyzing healthcare benefits, because every year it changes. So that should be a yearly thing, that we're always looking at healthcare benefits.
Yeah, I agree.
Because
Well-
healthcare benefits change every year, prices go up, and
I was under 65, my husband's on the United Healthcare, which is, 1 month of BCN is what it costs for United Healthcare for an entire year. So that's a lot of savings. A lot. But I'm good if you gotta look at the legal part of it.
That's what we were doing, and I don't know as if
we
we got
haven't
an
met
answer yet.
again. Yeah, we haven't met again to see if we got the, and I haven't heard if we got the answers. Maybe we should follow up with Lisa.
She's on vacation till next Tuesday.
Okay.
And that's what she said.
Mhm. Yes, I will.
Okay. We also talked about offering an optional health care savings plan, but the majority of the retirement oversight committee was not in favor of doing that.
Why?
I was in favor of doing
Because if you do that, then you're kind of you're taking away from the retirement, the staying here for so many years, earning what you get, and you're adding an extra liability to the township, because now no matter what, people are getting money instead of staying. So it's actually a larger liability for the township. You'll end up spending more than what we do.
Okay. I just didn't know if it had to do with, because it would require a different kind of plan, because you have to have a high deductibility plan to be an HSA, right?
It's not an HSA.
Oh.
It's a health savings plan, not a house savings account.
Oh, okay. Okay, that's good enough for me.
How about that bottom one?
Hey, Township office building improvements, parade, yeah.
Is it gonna get done in 18?
I don't think that should be a 3-year, I think that should be a sooner.
1 year.
We don't have a 1 year on here, so.
Well, that would be the
But
18, right?
it'd be 2019, you know.
Well, some improvements
This
have been
year?
made, I do
Yeah,
have to say,
we
yeah.
do.
some of them
Oh,
have been made.
yeah, I
Yeah,
say 2018 1 year, 19 year.
Yeah.
If I flip the page, I forgot.
Is that this year? Because part of them got done and part of them didn't get done.
That's under those capital improvements, so we'll talk about those more when we get to there.
Okay, I just thought you told us that it was this year, that's all.
HVAC.
No, the
'Cause you're-
lights.
The.
Oh, yeah, they're supposed to get done this,
They're in the hallway, Terry.
they're.
I know, half of the building has them. My half doesn't.
We're waiting for Detroit Edison
You don't need to see numbers.
approve our
No,
project.
those numbers are just peachy keen.
And Arnie had a wedding at his house. Oh, no, we're waiting for, Arnie's getting his knee replaced. So I was trying to do.
That's a whole lot different than a wedding.
You did already? So now we're waiting for Arnie's knee to get.
Yeah, maybe.
One's more painful than the other.
It cost us
And we're waiting for Detroit Edison to approve our project, because they're giving us a rebate on the lights.
Gotcha.
So they're here, ready to go. And they're gonna go in the substation too. We have some
They've already been put in the substation.
What is,
lights.
The new lights.
oh, the lights,
Oh, he
yeah.
did
They are,
your lights?
Arnie did the lights, yeah.
Oh, good.
Yeah, huge difference too. Huge
Oh, good.
difference, yeah.
New light logo.
Yeah, he did. He came in.
And he replaced those 4 or 5 fixtures in the dressing room area
Yes.
in the bathroom?
Yeah, in the locker room,
And
yeah.
how did those turn out?
Really well.
Okay.
Yeah, matter of fact, it's so bright in there now that we're actually turning the light off during the day. I mean, and that's only with 2 bulbs in there.
Yeah,
Yeah, they're really bright.
all right,
It's
good.
nice.
Okay, so we've got part of it. We just don't have
Guys will wake up when
this
they
building,
walk in the door.
but it's ready to go. Where are we?
That was made a difference in ours.
Are we on July?
In all of our stations. Yeah.
On the
Yeah.
on the next page, we changed the 18 to 19.
And the 19 to 20.
From 19 to 20, yeah. So what I have written down here is maintain rainy day funds at 40% or more of general funds. So we have 7,031,190. And we,
$731,190.
My question is why are we saying 40 there when we're trying to require police and others to be 50?
I don't know.
So I think we should be consistent. If we're requiring police and others when we speak of other departments or funds, that we want 50, then we want 50 in the general fund. I
Yeah,
want to
it
be
should all be the
consistent.
same.
Whenever I ask him, he always says, just between he and I, he said, yeah, we try to
It
shoot
says
50.
50, so this needs to be 50.
I think so, too.
Yeah, I agree.
So I've got, it should be up to 820 for 40, so I don't know what it is for 50. I don't have my calculator.
That's all right.
Do we need to,
Just put 50%.
I don't know if we need to keep the OPEB.
So we're looking then pretty close to $1 million.
I figured $1 million is what I was going off of the top of my head. We skipped though, keep OPEB contribution at 90 or more.
Yeah.
Where are we at now? Or what is it gonna be
We don't
this
want to do
year?
90 or more. We're doing, what are we doing, Dave?
How about we just say, we're-
45. We were down to 45, whatever the OPEB.
why don't we just say whatever the
recommendation.
OPEB
Yeah.
recommendation is?
Right.
Okay.
Instead of the dollar amount, because that could change every 2 years now.
Yeah.
And they're not calling it the ARC anymore, whatever they're calling it, which I don't have my papers to remember that name.
Who's making the recommendation? Our actuarial
Actuarial.
recommendation.
Yeah,
But
let's-
didn't he make it clear that, yeah, it's all nice that we're lowering all our numbers, but they could come back next
Yeah.
year and change it by 2%.
they could.
What I'm talking about is what they're figuring we're gonna be earning on our money, and all of a sudden, you're gonna get bumped way up then. So that's why I never, I think it's great that they're assuming a bigger percentage, but why just automatically drop what we're funding? Not the employees, but what the township portion of the funding is. Why drop it so much to match that? Why not get ahead of the ball, is I guess what I'm saying.
Stay out of it.
Well, the fire department operation and budget needs the money for other things.
Okay.
And we are still getting ahead because we're doing, like, we rounded
Yeah.
up.
Right.
Okay.
We rounded up, so we are still doing a little bit more, but
Okay.
we're a lot higher, like, I mean, we're at 87% now or something like that.
Right.
So we're pretty high funded now.
Back in 2008, we were at 7%.
Oh, believe me, I know.
So I feel
I was also
comfortable-
uncomfortable when that guy gave the numbers. I made it clear in the
I
meeting
was
too,
too.
that, you know,
Yeah,
it's
it could
funny
change.
money.
But we're
and-
not dropping
yeah.
a lot of what we're contributing. It's not going down much. It's only
Okay.
going down a tiny bit.
Okay.
isn't
Right.
it? Like,
Right, because ours dropped like 20,000
Okay,
for the year. So we went from 65 that we were gonna put in to
to
45.
okay.
So it's not a
So it was
Did
around
we
huge,
approve
65,
that?
72 or something like that.
Did we approve those numbers already?
We approved them for the budget last year.
we
Well,
were,
going
we
into
know
this
something was
year.
needing to come back to the board.
Yeah, I
We
have
needed
to
to
get
come-
with you to do a letter to,
To the board to tell them what we're
No.
changing to. We never did that.
yeah,
didn't do
yeah. You know how we gave Sue
Yep,
that letter?
yep, yep.
So we have to give her a revised letter.
Okay.
We haven't done that yet.
Yep. no
So the
problem.
payments haven't changed yet.
Probably not.
Nah.
And I
So-
think we were gonna do a letter to the board to let them know what we were changing to, because we approved one.
I
and-
thought our motion was
I think
that
we
we
need to look back
had,
at.
we were changing, we figured out what we were changing to already.
Right, you guys had,
Yeah.
that number was already calculated out, because I know it was given to Kay in case, and this is
Yeah,
what we're gonna change
yeah.
to, so.
Yeah,
Well, we met in June, right?
I think that's when you decided that, because that,
Yeah.
you had the
and then
actuarial at
the
that part.
actuarial.
Right.
Yeah.
So we have the numbers, we just haven't,
But we haven't-
I-
We haven't sat down
I
to
have
do
a
it
note
yet.
on my desk to get with them, and I just haven't done it yet.
Okay. We need to get that changed because I think she made a payment in July and then the next one, or I can't remember when she makes the payments, but.
Maybe she paid too much, and pay less next year.
Just take less off.
Yeah. If we have it, it's not going anywhere. It's not like we're throwing
Right,
it
no, I
to the
know.
dogs.
I'm just trying to figure out too, because I thought we said we were gonna do something for the board, let the board know what was determined too, but I guess we have to look
I
back
don't
at the
remember
minutes.
that. I thought we had decided on the number, and it was in there, so we'd have to look at the packet again.
Or maybe we said it was in the minutes and that would be good enough. Like, the board was gonna get the OPEB minutes and they'd see it in that.
I think that's what.
Not the OPEB minutes, the
Retirement.
retirement oversight, the ROC, yeah, minutes.
Okay. And I don't know if those have been done. I think we've got, or did we get them?
I don't know. I don't know when your due date is for minutes from that meeting ever. If there's like ours, it's 8
Usually the
days,
next
8
meeting.
working days. Right, exactly.
So then it gets forgotten about.
All right, I just think we should look into what we were supposed to do for that.
Maybe you guys as a retirement committee should say we want the minutes available within a 2-week period or something, some kind of suggestion, so that,
It doesn't get forgotten.
well, it's, personally, I would do them the next day while it's fresh.
Yeah, deadlines are always good.
Yeah, well, without it, it's gonna be tough. You want it the day of the meeting, it's,
Yeah.
Okay. Anything else on 2019 that was
Yeah, it
changed?
says put millage renewal on ballot. What millage renewal?
Probably
I know we didn't say so.
police.
Probably.
So I wanted to
We
make
might
sure.
want to say which
Yeah.
village that
actually,
is.
that's gonna be on there.
That's gonna be 18, but that
It's gonna
was.
be
Yeah, so
18,
that
yeah.
gets moved to 18.
Right.
Yep.
And that one can come off, because otherwise we don't have any other new millages, right? Or renewals that we need.
Oh, consider a general fund millage question.
What was the question?
That was, I think, if you wanted to
Go back to
go back to
1%.
1 mil.
1 mil.
Yeah. I don't think we need to.
Address pension funding, we need to keep that on there. Review police contract.
Yeah,
What year is it up
yeah.
now?
That's up every year, but it's gonna be a new one for this coming year.
Yep.
So,
Yeah, 19,
the
we need
consider
new
the
contract.
general fund millage question, do we want that out there? I don't think we need to. I'm not looking to bump it back up to 1 mil.
versus, what is
I
it?
mean, why don't we
192
move
or
that,
something
why
like
don't we
right
move that to 2020 and see if that's an issue for us then?
Okay.
It's not much lower than 1 mil now, is it?
No, it's
No,
1 mil, and then
but-
they had me roll.
Right, so,
Definitely
but
roll
what
that.
is it, like
Like 9
.92?
something,
Yeah.
You can move that down a year and see what happens, but they're in good shape, so I hate to do anything. And we have other millages that we need to deal with.
We did just get a good decrease in Delta Dental. Is that the one, Kathy? I think so, yeah.
But we didn't pay a whole lot for dental in the first place, but the decrease is always good.
Right.
Also sure we had a decrease in healthcare too while you were talking about it. There was a decrease in healthcare costs, so
Okay, yep.
you want to make sure.
So for 2020, do you want to change that OPEB contribution to read that?
Yeah, actuarial recommendation.
Okay.
Is there anything else we want to change in our 2020?
The OPEB contribution.
Yeah,
Should
we
be
just
worded
talked about
okay.
that.
Sorry.
And changing the 40 to 50.
40 to
Yeah.
50.
Okay.
Is the session about paving now going to 19? Is it, are we still on?
We're still
track?
for 19, yeah.
So that needs to move up then.
Oh, there it is. Oh, I already have my arrow. Okay.
Oh.
Must have done that a while ago. Okay, anything else? Okay, possible additional revenue sources. Anybody have any more ideas?
Yes.
Okay.
And this one that went out in my email today, inspection fees for specialized use properties. Not a wink wink.
You lost.
You mean for like adult foster care
Exactly,
facilities?
yes.
Inspection fees? Are we lawfully able to inspect them?
Right.
Why not?
Because they're state
I
license.
know, but we're still responsible for public safety responding to them, so we have to know that they're safe for the residents that are there who might be unable to.
Yeah, what
take
about
I mean,
care of
kind of
themselves.
like the way we inspect our restaurants?
Yeah.
Falls under a different thing though. The problem is that if it's less than 7, it
It's like
actually
a
falls
house.
under the Bureau of Fire Codes for fire inspections.
Mhm.
So it falls within the state guidelines for that. Not to say that we couldn't require something, but I think it would have to be an ordinance level at that point.
Right.
So not that you can't, but then what do you charge? What's the, right,
Same
I
as the
understand. I
solicitor
understand.
fee.
I mean,
If we
I
can
get it, they're
charge
making
for
money, I get it.
inspections, I would say, yeah.
Yeah, why not?
But I don't, but that's something I'll have to ask Stuart.
Yeah, right, and that was in that, and he got a copy of the.
Oh, he did?
so,
Okay.
Yeah.
So inspection fees for group homes or?
I would say special use permits or special use
But we don't
regis-
permit them.
registrations, which is another part of mine.
You
It would,
don't
register.
right, I think
The
you
state
would
does
have to
that.
probably create an ordinance that says that you have to register.
Right, exactly.
And then with the registration, do you look at, is it a fire department inspection? Is it a fire police inspection? Is it a fire building police inspection?
Which registration is another one of the things in
So,
the email.
I mean, those are all different, and then, who acquires said funds? So is it to each entity that goes out and does the inspection? Does it all come back to the building department? Does it all come back to the township? Those are the questions that you gotta get answered
Right.
Yeah.
when you write the
You
ordinance.
do, because it's like marijuana.
Yeah, right.
We're-
But here's
our hands
another
are
one
tied
that-
on a lot of that.
Yeah.
That I also put is, and I'm not sure how you do this, some sort of bonding, so that they're bonded, because obviously they're increasing police recall. Obviously, they're going to increase fire calls, for medicals and stuff. Well, I'll say that.
Right.
And so, if it's an increase over normal usage,
Some not, it depends on the.
we set a bond for
Actually,
that, that we can keep and
That's
pay for that
interesting.
extra
I find that
usage.
interesting.
And then when they
It really
return
depends
their
on-
registration, we'll return what's left of the bond that we maintain.
Yes, we have some, we're never
And
at.
then
Yeah.
they become a bank, and I don't know.
Just some thoughts.
You know,
We,
That's all good discussion.
We're-
Absolutely.
we're looking right now at doing a contract with Bald Eagle Lake for marine.
Marine Patrol.
Right.
Marine Patrol. And we're having the same questions and concerns about how do we keep their money and oversee their money and, return it.
Sure. Yeah.
if They don't use it.
you guys you both kind of agreed to a statement, you were having a side conversation there. When it comes to police calls / the fire calls, and you say it really depends on the home, is that because it depends on the owners of the home, or because it depends on the type of people that are in the home?
Both.
Both, man.
Okay.
Absolutely both.
For sure, both.
Because you have some of the owners that are, watch the type and caliber of employees that they hire.
Yes.
And you also have owners of the home that watch the type and caliber of residents that they receive.
Interesting.
So, and then some of the residents, you have some residents that can take care of themselves, and you have others where they can't. And yeah, the ones that are completely incapacitated, that may create us a few extra calls.
Well, sure, I mean, especially
But-
if you have a hospice type place, I mean, obviously you're gonna get more calls to.
Well, not
visit
just
that.
hospice, but if you have somebody that's completely incapacitated and long-term incapacitation,
Uh-huh.
then there are other things that occur with that. There are other medical conditions where we have to take them in, maybe on a little more regular basis, but,
Okay. Well, the reason I was asking the question is because Kathy said, well, can we legally inspect, can we do this? But you know what, the families are gonna be coming to the township if the place burns down and their families are inside. They're gonna be blaming us because we let it go. And they're not gonna be going to Laura, and they're not gonna be going anywhere else but here.
right, no, I understand exactly what you're saying, but legally right now, it falls underneath the state fire marshal's division. Right, wrong, or indifferent, Scott. I agree with you.
I just want
think
the
it
facts,
should.
I don't blame you
Yeah,
for it.
no, I think it should come back to the fire department.
Unless we have
Um,
some sort of registration, where they have to register.
Right, now, if we
Yeah.
come up with an ordinance
Right.
that you find that's legal that can do that, then absolutely, I think that's the way to go.
Yeah.
And again, like I said, I think it may warrant or behoove us to have a three-way inspection on that, if you will. Both the police, the fire, and the building department goes out there.
Yeah.
So that way we have ties to all three, if you will, the township, the fire department, and the sheriff's department. I keep calling it police department, but it should be sheriff's department.
So here's,
So that way they understand what's going on in those homes and what kind of homes that they have and the owners and so forth.
so any business that's licensed by Lara, you guys don't inspect those businesses as a fire
Not
department?
necessarily,
We
so.
don't know, and they don't
It's the
register,
So-
we don't know
We
who
don't
they are.
Right, it's the group homes has special, they have a special category that they fall under. And that's where it is, because if they go over 7, then
How do we
they
know?
have to notify us.
We wouldn't know.
Right, they have to notify us so that we can go and inspect them. But if they're under 7, it goes strictly to law.
Residential.
And it's,
Because it's considered residential.
it is,
Right.
and there's nothing that, and I think that's what Stuart maybe was alluding to, is the legalities of that. I'm not a lawyer, but I think that's where Stuart has some angst, is what can we do legally without winding up in court? I mean, because you can tie anything up in litigation, right?
Forever.
Forever.
You can, but you're gonna spend money to do said thing, so.
Well, it's like, I mean, for us to go into one of them homes, you can call it inspection, whatever you want, but, I mean, they don't even have to legally tell us the names of those people in there. And we had no justification to run those people through lien.
Right, you gotta be really careful of that.
Or creative.
Oh, yeah.
So,
I mean,
and
you could really take a whack on it.
Yeah.
now when we go out, what I will say is that we do look through the homes, to see what it looks like and how the residents are being taken care of and who's there and how many and,
If
you
you
know.
pop and popcorn.
That's if we
Right.
get a call out.
If you get a
Right,
call
if
and
you
you're
get a call,
invited
right.
But if we
in,
get a call and we're invited in.
if you
Right.
get a call and you're invited in, then you can take a
So
look at
I
your
think,
phone.
I think it warrants good discussion. I think it is something that Stuart needs to look at to see what are the legal ramifications and can we do that? I don't think it's a bad idea. I think the process
Right. you have to go by the
will find its way out if we can or if we can't.
Hey, just to be off the subject, and I don't know who was copied on this, but I got an email about some kind of white foamy stuff coming out of Hummer Lake Road by the group home. But there's 3 group homes on Hummer Lake Road.
I
but
can tell
do
you where
know
it
which
is.
one?
She contacted me and I said to contact your office because she said that she doesn't get anywhere with the road commission. So it's the one where they were draining out into the road that we've talked about over the winter.
It's the one by the power lines.
Yeah.
So what she's worried about is that they were draining their barn and
Where
did they
Where they
drain,
flooded, where the barn was
Flooded.
flooded, or the garage was
and
flooded.
did they drain chemicals now? Because now it's all, I have a picture of it. She sent me a
Up the
picture of
road.
it.
But where's this at?
Yeah, show
Yeah.
it to them,
Yeah, we're,
since we're here.
Oh, I thought she sent me a picture of it.
Maybe we can do it after.
Yeah, yeah. I can ask her
Well-
to send me a picture. She had it.
I am totally on the homeowner sides at Sleepy Hollow. Absolutely, I am. My concern is, and I think it's Stewart's too, is we have criminals all over this township.
Yep.
They're not just in the group
No,
homes,
absolutely.
they're everywhere, so. I mean, on my
But,
street, gotta be
but in the same token, I get where the residents are concerned that they have a concentrated population of criminals in one area. I get it.
Not even.
I wouldn't want it.
But they're supposed to be 1,500 foot apart.
So-
It's not
because
even
that-
criminals though, because now, it's not just the people that are in their house, because I think probably
It's the
95%,
workers.
it's all the workers that have to go support those guys.
it's the
Yeah.
workers
Yeah.
for us.
Yeah.
It's not
And
the
that's the
residents.
issue with having the concentration, especially on a cul-de-sac like
Yeah.
that.
But
The issues,
honestly,
go ahead, go ahead.
how do you know that the workers are criminals?
We don't until we get called.
Exactly.
And-
So one of the statements was that they do hire criminal workers. Do we have proof of that?
No.
No.
We have no idea who they employ.
So
I mean, we
I
find
get
out
these
when we
statements.
go there.
Laura,
Proven
Laura
that they
is
have
supposed to be
criminals.
checked that because they're supposed to do a
Yeah,
background check.
I never placed a whole lot of credence in that, other than frustrated homers at that point, but they have had numerous run-ins with them, though, with the employees. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah, some of
And the
that,
other
I
thing
mean,
too, the police is there a police report when Jake had that interaction with the worker?
yes,
Because I didn't get
which
that.
was an issue because we ticketed that guy on that, and I didn't feel real comfortable with it because, to be honest with you, Jake somewhat instigated that. I mean, Jake went to him, and then the conversation went south. So some of that has been, I mean,
Yeah, that's not the story I heard.
yeah,
so.
well, that's not the
Yeah.
story Jake's telling.
Yeah.
But when we got the other half of that story, which there's 2 sides of the story.
But is there a police report on it? Because I didn't get that police.
Yeah, we
report.
wrote the guy a disorderly ticket or something.
Is
Yeah,
there a
he-
hearing yet?
Yeah, I think it's already
Can
done.
can I get the police report? on
Yeah,
that?
let me look at that one. I'm gonna have to look back at that
Since
one.
we've only heard hearsay, and I guess it's public knowledge, did this employee threaten the daughter?
No.
Okay. that's-
He made a comment
Uh-huh.
about his daughters, but it wasn't the same way that Jake told the story. And we ticketed
You
the
should have heard
guy.
me and Lansing on that one.
We ticketed the guy for that.
I was going like this, God!
The guy,
I was trying to make a point. I thought
Yeah.
I was being honest about it, but.
yeah, the guy, he did admit to making a very negative comment to one of those
Okay.
kids. And that was why we ticketed him. I mean, it was really for that comment.
Any of those emails we get, I look at all with a grain of salt, because
Yeah.
they're dealing with a lot of hysteria down there, and I get it, I understand.
And
But-
they want immediate answers, and it's
Exactly.
like,
That's right.
I gotta go to Stewart, I can't
It's
just.
not Shrek.
I quit responding. I responded to one and I haven't responded to another. Because to be honest with you, it's out of my control.
Yeah.
I really have nothing to do with it. We'll enforce whatever comes up, but
Right.
Well,
The
and
more
they
you
want
respond,
us
the
to
more
go
problem
after
it is.
disturbing the peace, and you didn't give
Yeah.
me any reports
No.
that say
Well,
the
I
peace
mean-
was disturbed.
and all of the
That's
calls
their
were,
interpretation of
I mean,
it.
asking for extra patrols and all this
Yeah.
BS, which we did. And that's what I said, there's not, 25 police reports. There might be 25 instances where we went out there, but we don't write a police report, and every time we go out there on a
Just
suspicious service.
the last one that came up at our last meeting, they said they had to call the police out there because two employees were arguing out in the street, and it could be heard down the cul-de-sac using foul language.
So did
inside.
that get reported on?
I don't remember seeing that, and if there was, we didn't, I mean, the only thing we could have wrote them under was a local ordinance for swearing in the public, but I mean, no, you're really
Yeah.
grasping at straws.
And then you-
I was gonna say, you
And
can do that at a
and
family residential.
I could go do that right now at your gas station. And I have,
And it
and
could
I'm
just be a
not
football
going,
game on
I know what
TV.
they're trying
Do
to
you
do.
have to hear it yourself, or can they?
No, I mean, as long as you have witnesses to it, but I mean, but I'm not gonna get involved in that game with those residents back there every single time they hear
I
somebody
understand.
yelling over it.
I understand.
I'm not gonna do it,
Well, what I-
and they're asking for the world over that.
What I told them, just so you know, because they were saying, well, we don't know if a police report was made. I said, police report doesn't have to be made. Ask for a complaint number.
Right.
And ask for a copy of the D card if they'll give
Yeah,
that. Give you that.
exactly. And that's what I gave those to Kathy this
Yeah.
week, and, you know, we had like 2 written police reports and, you know, probably 15 D cards, you know, when we were there.
And the D cards,
I'd
It
like
does tell
to
you
see-
what just a call.
Yeah,
I'd like
right.
to see how the hearing turned out though on the one that you.
I think he pled guilty. I mean, the guy, they got into an argument, but the guy was in the road and Jake went out and confronted him. And the guy rolled his window down and it started out as a pleasant conversation, and then Jake started getting on him about the group home and as an employee, and then it went south from there. And
but it was still something that the employees didn't handle properly.
No.
No matter what Jake did.
no, and after we ticketed him, we contacted the owner, and the owner claims that he either terminated him, which I doubt that he did. He probably transferred to another one's group home somewhere.
Correct.
I'm sure he didn't terminate. And the employee, he admitted, he said, yeah, I said something I shouldn't have said.
Yeah, I would like to see that police
So-
report if I could.
Yeah.
'Cause
I mean, it was-
in
it
the group
was
that
pretty
you
simple.
gave me, I was looking for it and I didn't see it.
Yeah, I don't know why that
This,
didn't come
what
up
was
in there.
told us, I don't care whose fault it was, I don't care if Jake stood in his driveway and yelling it. What I heard was said about his daughter, I can't get past.
Oh, no question.
Yeah.
But it wasn't quite,
Okay,
I'm not saying it was good, but it was
Yeah.
not to the extreme I think that Jake portrayed.
okay.
And we confronted Jake on that. And-
Well, then I gave the people in Lansing a little treat that.
It's all right. I mean, the guy said some negative stuff. So, yeah, no
That's
question.
all right, maybe it'll open their eyes up a little bit. and Give them something to
I
think
was
about.
trying to.
All right, where are we on this? Oh, we were on possible additional revenue sources, I think. Are we good on that?
Are we gonna take off the charge solicitor $10?
Yes, I was just gonna
Yes,
say, take
we
that one
need to
off.
take that off.
What services are we gonna outsource?
What about
Treasure?
the cable franchise fees?
Huh?
The cable franchise fees, it says use a portion of cable franchise fees for services that would benefit the residents such as chloride OPEB, capital outlay. We don't do that. Fire department? Fire
I'll never say no.
She did that, newsflash.
Yeah, I guess I should know this, but other than funding Greg and his group and the work that they do, what else do we use those fees for right now?
They come back to our general fund.
Just general fund.
And they go back to the village.
Village, yeah, we have a percentage.
So then it does
So,
go to
so we
something
would
that benefits. so-
basically have to pay for the available general fund.
Right.
So it basically already comes back to benefit, the extra
Right.
does come back to benefit the residents.
Oh, for, yeah, like chloride OPEB. Capital outlay, well, not the capital outlay because that's coming out of our combined.
So we really already do that.
You're gonna start down here?
Yeah, possible reductions. Possible, do we want to reduce benefits?
I would say no.
I would say no as well.
Going to keep the employees.
Yeah.
Spend less, we're always looking for
We always
ways
trying to
to
look
spend
at
we're
spend
always
less, I mean, if
looking.
you can find cheaper.
Possible
Right, cheaper
eliminations, we don't have anything. Possible
Right,
funded
doesn't say,
differently.
yeah, it's gonna spend less.
Are we looking at funding or assessing differently, like going through the county? I don't think so.
Ew.
It's more expensive.
I think we're very fortunate. what was going
Parks
on.
and Recreation to BGO, I don't think we're looking
Where
at
did
doing
that come from?
I don't know. It
I have
was
no
on
idea.
here.
It was BGO.
It
Long
was, yeah,
time
we
ago,
went the
right?
other way.
Yeah,
So we'll take that off too.
I think that's a good plan.
Building department ordinance enforcement, that, well, actually, that should stay on if we look at what suggested. Okay. So now where are we? Areas to direct surplus to. So we changed 17 to 18. Why don't we, instead of say create a capital outlay fund, don't we have one already created?
We do.
Yeah, we do.
It's in the budget.
So contribute to capital outlay.
Yeah,
fund.
contribute. That's what I was thinking.
Not donate.
That should be, and then it is the other, okay, so it looks like in 17 we were looking at creating, because then 18 and 19 had said contribute.
Oh, okay,
Right.
okay, good. So 18 is now 19 and 19 is now 20.
Right, and they already say contribute.
Okay, do we want to change anything on 19 and 20?
Well, the parking lot surface has been redone, resurfaced.
Yeah, where was it?
Where do you
Cross
see
all
that?
that out.
It's under
Yeah,
all the-
under capital outlay.
Small print.
Oh, parking lot.
Oh.
I see it, yeah. We got one thing done.
Well, it must
Very
have been a
nice.
big success too, because I see that the bar's clientele is back there.
Oh my goodness, if somebody else parks on my
Yeah, I thought there was a lot of
spot,
people here
yeah.
tonight, I was
I-
like,
so
what's
did I.
going on, and who's
Yeah.
got our meeting tonight, that's
There's some people in
Monday.
the park though, too.
I saw some
Yeah, there
people
was
in
a-
the park.
Because it's
Open the park.
Thursday and they
Yeah.
have tacos on.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
Taco Thursday.
They are
Taco
Oh, it's Taco
Thursday.
Thursday.
Yeah,
Yeah,
dollar
I didn't know
Dollar
that.
tacos.
Yes, it's
Well,
taco
you might see me seeing my truck over there. They're good too.
And they are good.
They are good.
That's what I've been told.
Yeah.
That's what
I
I've
just
been
heard
told.
they have chicken. I always thought they were all beef.
That's what you've been told.
They are good.
Oh, I didn't know that either.
Or Escamillions, okay, so down on long-term goals, increase committed rainy day fund to 50%.
Yeah.
General fund expenditures. So we need about $1 million. Increase fund balances to 50% of expenditures. That was from
It's the same thing, isn't it?
auditor, yeah. Well, it's not the rainy day fund, it's the other.
All
funds.
the funds.
All funds. Okay, capital improvements, generator. I hope to get something out this fall.
I thought we already bought it. We were just waiting for it to be put in.
No, had to
Oh.
wait for
Waiting for an
those.
electrician.
Oh,
Yeah.
To tell us if we
okay.
have enough electricity.
So I should have enough information to send the RFP back out. Brick, okay, so the brick in the window repair, what my thought was to get, an gosh, what's that guy's name down at M15 in Oakville?
Oh. By
CB
the-
Glass,
Oh, C&B Glass.
Yeah.
No,
Don Short.
The builder down there.
Bill.
Harold.
Harold.
Jeff
Harold.
Harold.
To have him come out, give us an estimate on what it would cost to replace the windows and put something nice out there that would replace all the broken bricks.
But wouldn't you get more than one estimate for that though?
We could go
Well,
with one because you don't have to do bids unless it's what, 25,000?
20 or more.
20 or more, 20,000. So if it was less than that.
Well, you still want 3 bids, but he
Right.
could give us a ballpark idea of what
Okay.
we're looking at.
Okay.
Is what I was.
You could get
I mean,
three
you all
quotes.
seem to know.
You
right?
could get quotes.
Then we could get more quotes.
Okay.
You could get quotes.
If that, if we,
Okay,
because
good.
he would kind of design something for us,
Sure.
is what I was
And
thinking.
if we could pay him to do that, it's fine.
Yeah, and then we could get
Okay.
more bids, more than one.
He could give the specs.
Right.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, that's what I was
That's,
thinking.
that makes sense.
Because I don't know if we want to go with windows that are the same size. We have, there's that piece over the windows that's,
Sagging down?
yeah, so I think,
Back to that.
I think Jeff Harrell would probably be a good person to come up with some kind of design that might look nice.
Sure.
That's my thought. Okay. I took off parking lot resurfacing. HVAC replacement, I don't think that's necessarily until we need it.
Well, it doesn't have a date on here, so
Yeah, I
just leave it
know,
on.
just leave it on. CERT vehicle replacement, how much was that again?
I
Like
think
80,000?
yeah, I think the cheapest we're looking at is about 80 grand on that, if you decide to do that. We might be able to do a trailer or something, should. Right now, the certain enrollment is down. They've added a couple of members, so
Why isn't that under the fire department budget versus ours? I don't know, I'm just asking.
Because they came to us because we had some money.
Oh,
Right.
Yeah,
okay.
they were just looking for a handout.
Okay, that's fine.
But I mean,
That's fine.
but it falls under, because the CERT does a lot of different things.
I was
Although
looking
it
for an
falls
answer.
underneath the responsibility of the fire department, I mean, it falls under me as far as.
He's the boss.
The boss of it, if you will, the oversight. But they don't have their own funding mechanism.
That's all
I
I
have
hear.
$2,000 a year that I put towards them
Okay.
to either help maintain a vehicle, or this year we bought
And what
AEDs.
What would they need an ambulance for?
Well, they need a vehicle because, and I'll have them bring the vehicle up one time, if you're ever considering,
It's an old ambulance, isn't it?
it's one of our old non-transporting units, is what we use.
So what would we replace it with, another transporting unit?
Yes, either another box van or another chassis, because that was one of the things that we're talking about, like we do with our ambulances. We could have the chassis pulled off and just put on another, box, pull the box off, put the box on another chassis. And that is gonna be around that $80,000 mark. That's where that number came from. It was just a rough
What
number
do
that was
they,
shot out.
what do they do with it though? I mean, we have a fire department, so what do they do with it?
So what they do is they come out and set up if there's an extended emergency, or if a tornado comes through, we get an ice storm, that type of thing.
Couldn't
They
they
also,
use any kind of storage van
right,
type of vehicle?
right. We
Why
could
would
use,
it have to be an old ambulance?
just because of the box on the back gives them more storage capacity. That's what it comes down to. If you go out there and look at it, that vehicle's packed. Now, can some of the stuff come off there? Probably, but when you look at the stuff that's on there, they have a generator, they have chainsaws, they have those type of things.
Dashboard. But-
Yeah, they've got a ton of different items that they use to assist the fire department and the sheriff's office.
But 80,000 seems like a lot, and it seems like we could use like a Ryder truck type of.
Like a box
vehicle.
truck.
A box truck.
A box truck's probably gonna cost about the same, if not more.
Really?
Yep.
Dave, what if you went to the county auction and bought like a box van or something like that?
You can do that. I can't.
Oh.
But that, because one of the questions,
Because there are resources available.
They have the
Because
vehicles.
I tried looking at, the state has, where sheriffs, where police agencies, law enforcement agencies, can go and purchase surplus military equipment, surplus stuff like that. Fire departments can't purchase it.
But you can
Really?
purchase though from the
Yeah.
Oakland County Sheriff auction, when you guys do the auction though, is there ever any of those at the
Oh,
auction?
yeah, they, a
Anybody
lot
can go to
of
the
the,
auction, and I always
So-
look at the auction stuff to
Public
see what's
Works
up for
vehicles
auction.
go.
Yeah.
So that would be an option to possibly look at. You might be able to save some funds there.
then you could have it just.
But I know I had checked into it and I said, hey, listen, it's for the CERT team, it's not so much for the fire, because they said, well, you're in Oakland County and you're a fire department. No, you're not getting it. I said, well, okay, why?
This is for the federal?
Yeah, well, because there's a state, it's controlled by the state, and they will argue that Oakland County is rich in resource funds and availability of those funds, and that maybe northern departments are not, so they won't even consider anybody in Oakland County, Oakland, Wayne, Macomb, any of them. It's an automatic no. They don't even talk to you. But on the sheriff's side, because I had one of the CERT guys check, Spalo check,
Mhm.
and on the sheriff's side of things, we might be able to, might be able to snag that, but I'd have to run everything through the law enforcement agency. So that means I'd have to run it directly to Oakland County Sheriff's Office.
And I
don't know that that's an option.
And I don't know if it's worth it, because like we get a lot, we've gotten quite a few like Humvees, for our SWAT team, and they're junk.
Yeah,
And you have to be able to maintain that vehicle.
right. You gotta keep
Everybody
it.
maintains those vehicles. so
Yeah, you
stuff-
can't sell it. You gotta give it back to them if you don't like it or it doesn't work out.
Yeah. Dave, let me ask you, I mean, the certain numbers, I mean, the last few times that, like for functions that we've had, I mean, yeah, I hardly see any of these guys around anymore. I mean, what is the,
I think right now they're at an operating capacity of about 12, which is considerably down. At one time, we were over 40-something.
It's a big difference.
So here's the problem. And it's, this same problem can be related to anything that is considered a special team, is that the call volume is not there. What they do is work parades, they work
The runs.
Septemberfest,
The
fireworks.
Crowd control.
Fireworks.
They do more crowd control. We don't have, thankfully, hurricanes. We don't have the wildfires. We don't have, we have the storms that come through.
We have a few cold days in the winter.
And we get those, and we get tornadoes, right? Or high winds.
Or a ice
But
storm.
the high wind damage is, thankfully for us, the tornadoes are few and far between. But they are trained to look for victims if we need to. So a prime example, what I will say as a prime example is Groveland had the tornado that went through years ago. And it went through the trailer park. And it took out probably a third of the trailer park. There was damage. There was 2 trailers that were completely destroyed, upside down. There was people trapped. So if we get an incident like that, they're going to be really helpful because they're going to be able to do perimeter for us. They'll be able to help us search. They'll definitely add to that. We're also going to be calling in additional resources. The other is if we get a lost kid, a lost senior, they're good at doing search and rescue, at wide area searches.
no, we aren't, I mean, for one, that's gonna fall under our jurisdiction, and we aren't gonna use CERT team members. We're gonna use our K-9 and Marine Division, those type of units.
Well, I think it may fall, I would disagree with them a little bit because I think it falls under two categories. Well, it may fall under
I think
some of the
the
police.
original's gonna
There's
fall
some
under
medical
the
stuff there,
police,
too.
but the
True.
cleanup part might fall under the CERT team.
So
All
I
right, so
I
we'll
think
leave it under
there's,
capital improvements and
Yeah.
move on.
okay.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I think I started, I just meant to get a quick answer, I didn't, but thank you, I've learned a lot more.
Well, I mean, I think there's a lot more to it than that.
Do you want me to check on that, on those vehicles?
Yeah, if you don't mind.
Not through the Fed, but
Yeah,
through the
but through,
county?
yeah, absolutely. Let us know, and
I'll
at
check
least
on
that way we can.
I don't know if something
they
might
find
save you some
something,
money.
Yeah,
I mean,
they'll save the township money.
Okay.
I just checked the website,
Yeah.
sheriff's website for the auctions. I think they've all been passed. I
They
think the
they
last
had
one
a,
was
they had a spring one,
July.
they usually have a spring and fall.
Oh, okay.
I didn't say they just had one. I remember
Yeah,
looking through
yeah.
it. Yeah, I didn't look at it.
Yeah.
Okay,
Sorry.
next on here is the reimbursement for the fire department for the land purchase. And that had been discussed by the fire authority, right?
Actually, it was not discussed by the fire authority. It was discussed here when we were doing the,
Okay.
Who on our board is the fire authority?
just a minute,
Just.
the audit.
When we were doing the audit.
When we were doing the audit.
Because
When
I
you-
talked about it when we were doing the
Yeah,
audit.
when Ken was going over the audit,
And
so.
then we didn't buy Bella Ann, so then we started talking about, do we start paying back for the land?
Right, what are some of our options there?
Was that in the plan when it was purchased? Just
Yes,
asking.
It was.
Well, there was a plan that when that property was purchased, yes, that the fire department would be able to use it if they wanted to. It was conceptual. So it was very broad, that there is a spot, and they had a discharge permit at one time, that you could do a sewer system on it. 2 is that you could put a municipal complex out there. I would not recommend a municipal complex on the M15 side. They showed the fire department on M15. I think we sell that for commercial property. We have an access drive back into the property that you can have a municipal complex where we have the sheriff's office, the fire department, and the township offices all together.
Kind of like how Independence is?
And
Where their Station 1 is?
Yep, and on a little larger scale.
Yeah.
Because that doesn't have the township offices in it.
Yep.
so.
Is there
Where's
Station One,
that
the
in
one off,
Independence?
like across from Mom's
Independence
office,
down by the
across from
courthouse.
there?
Off 15 off Citation.
Off Citation
Yeah,
Drive.
I couldn't think of the name, but
So,
yeah,
yeah,
Citation Drive.
Citation Drive, the sheriff's
Fire
department
department's there.
and the fire department share a building together.
Okay.
Yes.
And the township
Right by
building,
Stewart's office.
Yes,
Yes.
yes,
Okay.
the
exactly.
township building is out on Seshabaw and Walden.
Correct.
Big,
Where they-
beautiful,
They have a big-
wonderful complex.
Yes.
They're behind
Yes.
the
There's
the
a-
Salvation Army.
Yes, behind the Salvation Army, and then there's
Yeah.
like a condo complex over there by
Yeah.
them.
So would the police rather be housed with the fire department or with the township?
I think for us it'd be easier with the fire department.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just my, I mean,
Yeah.
That would make more
I-15
sense.
is gonna make more sense anyway.
for the areas that we have now, we do have several substations that were part of the fire department, and it works out pretty well.
Okay, well, that's good to know.
mean,
I would be interested in
Closer
looking
to
at
the-
starting to pay back the
I was
fire
gonna make some
department.
You just
They
can't
can
get-
you
use
just can't
the
get these guys out of
funds
the
that
Marco
we have.
launchers.
Yeah,
It's
Yeah,
Dana
exactly.
wasn't gonna be here and she would like
I'm
to
here now.
see.
That was back in July, I wasn't gonna be
See
here.
the township pay half, the fire department, fire department maintains half. And I agreed with her. Because we had also talked about including the police budget into help paying for it. But the police budget is just to contract police, it's not.
Right.
Not for the housing of it.
Right.
Well, it is for the housing of it, but it's not, I mean, it's a contracted service, it's not, the police are not our employees.
Right. Like you
Fire
guys
Fire
are.
department.
They're our
Right.
employees.
Right, but you still have to pay for some kind of building
We
for them.
do, but the
Yeah.
town, but the.
But does that come out of
general
the police fund?
is-
No.
No.
Well,
Out of the police millage?
it
It
can.
can,
Good.
like all your improvements can come out of your
Mhm.
budget.
And maybe when we go
If you have one.
to build the building.
I never, I
Right.
never
Right.
use it.
We'll
Have some
take out-
utilities and take out some utilities
Right.
and stuff for.
But as
So-
far as the land.
Land.
Mhm.
So do you want me to tell you those numbers right now? or-
No.
Sure.
Yes.
Okay.
What's
numbers
it,
are you telling us?
1,800 or 18
Oh, no.
million?
What
No,
are
no,
you
no.
telling us? What kind of
So
numbers?
the fire
1.8
department,
million.
I'm gonna tell you how much we have paid for that piece of property.
Okay.
$2.2 million.
Pretty sad.
Unfortunately, it is what it is. When
We can't change it, all we can do is go
Right,
forward.
you know, when that property was purchased, at the time.
It was a good price.
It was a good price at that time. Had they waited a year, we could have got it for a song. It is what it is.
Yes.
It was, you know, that's the way, it's much like investing, right? So, with that being said, the fire department has $2.2 million in that piece of property. I need money for fire trucks.
Yes, you do.
And had I not paid the $2.2 million for that piece of property, I'd be able to pay cash for fire trucks. I can't do that. It is what it is, but having said that, I think that if we could work out a deal that if there's surplus funds from the township potentially, that could come back into the fire department for exchange of the sale or part ownership or part funding coming back to the fire department, that I'd be able to pay for trucks and possibly not have to increase the millage rate. Oh, I said millage rate, that's right. I cannot pay for fire trucks right now that we need. Now, we can do it, but I gotta increase the millage rate. I gotta increase the millage rate a little to pay it off, but then we're taking loans out.
And that's what we were talking at the fire authority.
Right.
Well, I think we talked a little bit about it at the fire authority, yes. That's what we talked about, was increasing the millage rate. And
And you were
then
talking about the loans as well.
the loans,
This one.
right? Because we would need to take loans out to buy the
And
apparatus.
I thought we decided long-term, the smaller amount was better than short-term, bigger amount.
For the loans, for us, yeah. Yeah, to go to a long-term, increase the millage rate to, from 0.5987
Nine.
to 0.755, or 7500, 0.7500. So
And what if
3/4
we-
of a mil.
What if we helped by paying back some of the land?
So this is what we could do, and we could show this. I can do the legwork and all that. I have some of the information already. The first two pieces of apparatus I need is going to cost around $900,000. That's an engine and a tanker, okay? The property's at 2.2 is divided even. I was looking at it three ways, trying to get more money. So that way it'd give me 1.4. 1.1 will work. We may have to take, at that point, we may have to take a small loan. If I get 1.4, and it doesn't all have to be today, doesn't have to be tomorrow. What it would be is the first $900,000, or whatever those two trucks come in 2019, we would have to pay that. So if we could pay that, let me finish for 1 second, then I'll get your question. So if we could pay that for those first two trucks, we are still building a surplus ever so slightly in our E&H. We wouldn't have to increase the millage rates. Then we would still have $200,000 to maybe $400,000 that the township would owe in 2023 when we get our next trucks. And again, those are going to be around the $900,000 mark. And I would hope that by then I will be close and maybe have to take out a small loan, like maybe a $200,000 or $300,000 loan.
And that all sounds fine to me, Dave. If 5 years from now, businesses decide, yes, we want to create a sewer district, all of a sudden that property, the frontage property, turns into a $6 million lot, and it gets sold, are we going to split that money evenly between the
Yes.
two groups? Then I'm all for
We've already
that.
talked about it.
Okay.
I know, Dave and I have already, Chief, sorry.
Yep, that's right.
And I've already talked
Yeah,
about
are
it.
you okay in here? I'll just call you Dave.
Yeah, no,
Sorry.
I'm good with it. No, absolutely.
But we've talked about that, and I know Kathy and I sat and talked about it, because I wasn't gonna be at the July
Okay.
meeting. And
Okay.
we would split whatever that profit came from selling off the
Right.
front lots to make it commercial, because I don't wanna own commercial property in the front there, M15 property.
Yeah.
That is not for us to own.
Nope.
That is for businesses, and that's what people wanna see. People wanna see, they wanna see some business. If we're gonna do the sewer district, they wanna see that business. And that would be
Absolutely.
prime property then, if we get the
Absolutely.
sewer district. And if we have some land that could be the sewer system there, and then you got the fire and the police there, so you get us out of the congestion here. And
Plus-
you get us all together.
Plus, there's enough property there that if a sewer system went in, we would have to figure out a water system. But if they wanted to put senior high-rise or senior apartments, you could do that.
Or assisted living.
And then you've got to, I know,
To do a high-rise
trust me,
assisted
trust me,
living would be important.
you know, I'm probably slitting my own throat here, but I'm only here for about 6 years, so maybe 10. But then that's the next guy's problem. So, but moving on from there, if you look at, if you look at the potential though, is, you know, maybe it's not a high-rise, maybe it's a two-story building. Anyways, it would be
Condos.
options for senior living
Yes.
in Brandon Township, which right now we cannot do. We don't have water, we don't have sewers.
But you can also do though, if you get the commercial, you're gonna get more families moving out here, I think. I think that's
Absolutely.
part
Oh,
of
for sure.
the, I think that's part of the
Absolutely.
issue.
Plus, you're gonna increase your
Right.
tax base.
Right.
I mean, because you're gonna get more
increase the business,
businesses and,
You're gonna get the commercial business, that will then also help
Yep.
the school district, because they get the commercial tax.
absolutely.
And,
It-
you know, you can see people wanting to move back to the city. I was down in Detroit this Sunday, and it is just booming because they're building all that stuff, and people wanna be by stuff. Not a lot of people wanna come out to the middle of, but some people do. So you
Right.
can have the best of both. You
Yeah.
can live in the rural area, but you have some shopping.
So what I will say is that property, when it was bought, we put crossings in already. So there's,
Right, I remember that.
there's 3 sets of culverts so that we can get access to all the dry pieces of property. Because the topographical of that property is, you come in off from M15, you go down, you got Kersley Creek, so then you gotta go back up. In the middle is probably where you would end up putting a township complex, township offices, fire department, sheriff's office, whatever, all together, you could do that. Or you could do separate buildings. And then from there, you have 3 pieces of land that you would have access to put in sewers if you wanted, and whatever else. Whatever your imagination can bring up. But the key is that M15 corridor is, right now, it's not worth a whole lot. I did some research. Probably the most I could get out of that is about 2, maybe 2.25. Just for the M15 frontage. And that's just looking at the piece of property that O'Malley's sold, or is trying to sell, because of the road right-of-ways and all the additional road improvements that have to go there are very costly.
So when you look at all the people in this township that go to, all the money that leaves this township and goes to Clarkston, goes to Davison, and it goes to Oxford. For shopping,
Yep.
to eat, is unbelievable how much leaves this township because we don't have sewers on that island. It's incredible.
That's true, okay. So that brings us to how much of our fund balance do we want to spend? And we had overage this year, and I didn't bring my financial statement with me.
I didn't think of that either.
Of $278,000. So this is what I looked at a month ago probably. What I would suggest was we put 90,000 into rainy day, 88,000 into capital improvements, and $100,000 to E&H.
You mean just to the land, we're not putting it to E&H, we're
Well, to the fire
to
department
the
for the land.
Gotcha.
So where
Where that money
$90,000
goes to the fire department should be Dave's decision.
No,
It would be for E&H.
it's got to go back to E&H because
Right,
that's where it's
Because
paid
that's
out
where
of.
it came
Okay.
out,
But-
so that's why I put
But I
E&H.
want
So-
to make sure we know it's not just going to E&H because we're giving money to E&H, it's going to E&H in the start of paying for part of the land. More like, it's not like we just said we're going to give
Right.
100 of our money to E&H.
Right.
So it's gotta
Right,
be.
it's
Right,
going
so,
towards the land.
so here's my dilemma though.
100's not enough.
I need $900,000 minimum,
By when?
2019.
By the
Good luck
beginning
with
or the end?
And I
By
think-
the middle.
I think we still need to
End of
increase
year.
the millage, the E&H millage.
So with that being said, do we increase the millage rate on
Yes.
E&H so that I can get loans to pay for it? Right now, I can't afford to make a loan payment.
I thought the fire board had agreed to.
Well, we
To
had,
the increase.
we
Yeah.
Well-
recommended
Right,
0.75.
yeah, that's what I thought.
There was that recommendation, I just want to make sure that before, because we got to have a meeting with the village, our joint meeting. So if we can do it without increasing the millage rate, then obviously I won't ask to increase the millage rate.
I would say go for the increased millage rate. If we can pay you back from our carry forward over time, at that point, you can lower it.
Can I ask, and I don't want this to be taken the wrong way by anybody in the village, but when you invite them to these meetings, which I think is great, but it's really a courtesy, right?
Well, we have a fire authority agreement, because
But
we
the
are.
millage is approved by the township.
That's correct.
Okay.
There's an agreement. That's not to say that the agreement can't change. We are a
I'm fine with it.
special.
I'm just
Yep.
kinda curious how it all
Yep,
works.
no, we are a special fire district, is what it's called. Fire district is made up of Brandon Township and the Village of Gordonsville, under Public Act 33, back in 19 whatever. It created a special assessment district. That's what we are.
Okay.
So with that being said, it doesn't necessarily, we don't necessarily need their approval, but I think it's good communication.
Sure, absolutely. But they can't, if we said yes to this millage, they can't come in and say, no, we don't want you to do that.
Well, they could say no, that we don't want the fire department to increase that, and then at that point, there is wording in our agreement of how to resolve that issue.
Okay.
And that could be up to and including disbanding that agreement. I don't know what the,
What do you want?
I don't know how that would affect us on Public Act 33. I think we still might be all right.
Okay.
What are the trucks just outdated? I mean.
Yeah, they're 25 years old.
Are they 25?
Yeah.
I can't believe they're that old. It's just-
Yeah.
Kathy, could you go over those
Not all of
numbers
them,
again
but-
you just gave us? Or is
Yeah.
it
Okay.
breakdown?
But the big ones.
I
got
had
two big ones there.
278,000 total
Right.
as our carry forward increase
Right.
from last year. So I have 90,000 going to rainy day, 88,000 going to capital improvements, and 100,000 for E&H for the property.
So, my one thing that when we had talked with Ken, our auditor, is I think there was two things that we were confusing together. And there's the rainy day and there's the committed. We were always looking at the bottom of our financials and then at our committed, and we were trying to do 50 for both. And he said, if it's not committed to a certain department and it's just sitting out there, that counts towards your 50 also. So we could have more extra than 50 than what we think. We really need those numbers to
I'd like
look
that
at.
to be
Yeah.
more clear too, because what I don't
Yes.
like seeing right now is every time any kind of project comes up that is talked about amongst the public, and all of a sudden this dollar amount, oh, we have $3 million out there that we haven't spent yet. And it's not correct, and I just want to make sure that we're giving the right information to
Right,
people.
and I wanna
So
make
they know
sure
that we're
that-
being judicious with their money.
And I want to make sure we're not sitting on something that we don't need to be sitting on.
That too.
That we could help with
I-
the land
I
purchase. So
totally
I
agree.
really want to look at these numbers, because I think it's
I'd like
important.
to know what those numbers are too.
But I thought if they were
What's the
committed,
numbers?
they were committed to something.
Well, if they're committed to something, but there's something out there that's
What
not.
our rainy day is an amount that.
It's a carry forward from
No,
last year.
no, the rainy day is in here. It's called General Fund State Mandated Carry Forward. And what, in here, we're saying we want our rainy day to be 50% of our
Expenditures.
expenditures, which is like $1 million. Right now, it's $731,190.
But how much of these other,
Committed
these other are not mandated or restricted? Restricted means that it's only to be spent on that, certain
Like our
like roads
tri-party.
and, yeah. The others, you can take action to move the money.
Yeah, like capital improvement, we could probably move the money up
Yeah,
back
and how
out.
much is in there?
120.
Yeah,
So
well,
I'm
we
saying we
need
put-
some windows.
But then
and-
there's more.
Yeah, that's why I'm saying we should put 88 in there, 90 in our state mandated carry forward, which
Right, so
would
that's
bring it to
736.
820, what? 820?
736 plus, what did you say,
It
88?
is 731,
Well,
190.
2017 ending
Yeah.
totals for GF is 736. Now you're at 731, 217 ending. 217 ending totals for general fund designated. Well, there's two numbers here, there's 731 and there's 736.
What?
This is the one that's in my
I mean,
packet for June.
Yeah, yours is more up to date than mine.
So the 736 plus you said what, 88?
88.
So that's
No,
four.
I said 90 to rainy
You said
day.
90 to rainy day, 88 to what did you say?
Capital improvement.
Gotcha. So you got 6, 9, 10, 11, 12, so you'd be at 826 there.
826.
Yep. And what was our carry forward on our financial statements?
It's usually, what was our carry forward?
Our ending fund balance, sorry, in our general fund, our ending fund balance as of 12/31/17.
It was
1.278.
Yeah, 1.278.
So if you take 1.278 just plus the 736 beforehand,
Then we're way over 100%.
we're way over 100%, and that's where I said we have extra funds, like they said. We have 1.278,754. So we have 1,278,754
And
in our
that's-
general fund
And
at
that's
the end of the
probably
year.
why we put our rainy day to 40%, not 50%.
Probably, and then our rainy day is 736,216, so we're at $2 million between the two of those.
But
And we-
1,000,001 needs to be there. So we don't count
Correct.
that as extra money. That's
That-
supposed to be sitting there as the rainy day
That's the
fund.
50%.
Right, but then
Right.
you don't need the 50% here. What he's saying is we're double dipping. We're double
Mhm.
counting. We have a rainy day fund over here,
So our carry forward
and we
doesn't
have our
have to be as
carry
big.
forward. Only one of those needs to be 50%. Both of them don't need to be 50.
Agreed.
Together they needed to be 50%.
That's what we need to, that's what I need to understand and be sure what that number is. 'cause
I
right now
thought we
didn't know
were-
this either.
I mean, it used to be, well, I'd really like to see 100%. And I thought we were trying to move toward 100% for the combination, which is
I
now
don't
we're over
recall that.
100%.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
I don't recall
Yeah,
that.
Ken used to say that.
Mm-hmm.
But when I talked to him last time, he said those two numbers just should be at 50, is what he told me when I talked last time.
Well,
So maybe we need to have a
I think-
conversation with
I
Ken.
think- Yeah, I think
When
minimal.
those two combined, he said 50, not 100.
So one could be at 35 and one at 15, you got your
Correct.
50.
But right now, we're at 2 million.
Yeah, but he used to say 100, Dana.
Which we're now, well, now he's, okay, well,
But if we were
So
to
we're over
accelerate the
100
payments
now.
for the land out on
Which we're
M15,
about where we're at.
it would kind of take us back to where we need to be.
We'd be at the
Then
50, right, if we paid for the land at M15, we'd be at
Pay
50.
for our half of it.
Pay for our half, we'd be at 50.
And see, that's
And then
that's a
pray God nothing
valid,
happened, because then we would have nothing to fall back on.
well, no, we still
And
have,
we'd
put
still
it-
have
take it out of
50%.
carry
We'd have
forward.
50%.
Yeah.
Take it out of carry forward.
Take it out of carry forward.
Well, let's talk.
Better than
again.
raising the
Let's-
millage, I know
let's- Let's
That's
ask
the
the
way I look
question
at it.
Ken again.
Mhm.
You can ask the question to Ken, yes, and can you get it in writing so you can share it with us then, his answer?
Yeah.
Not just a phone call.
Well, yeah, I would email him so I can share it.
So what I'm trying to figure out is if that rainy day committed plus the carry forward on our financial statements, are those two joined supposed to be 50%? Or does he want 50%
I
in
know.
each of those?
All I know is it took us months to get the toilet fixed, and now all of a sudden we're buying land.
Well,
The
we're not
lights in
buying
the building
land.
aren't even done.
The
And we
land's
need
already
some
been,
improvements
the
here.
land's already been purchased
We
though.
need roofs over our doors.
Yes,
I
we
need
do.
seals around
Those
my
are
door.
on
You can see
order.
outside all the way around my new door.
Your
Yeah, there's no-
awning is
none
on
of us
order.
are, we all agree, there's no doubt about it.
Well,
Let's not cut
how long
ourselves
do we
too
have to
short
wait
now.
though? That's
I don't know.
part of the problem.
Hasn't it been approved?
Yep.
Good deal.
Yeah, there, I've got them ordered.
Okay. Yeah.
Yay!
The awnings are ordered for
Okay,
you.
good, thank you.
Yeah.
Yay!
And they moved, that's why they moved the lights down. So they fit under the awning.
Lights don't work.
Oh, they don't?
No.
Not at all.
Neither one?
Mm-mm.
Nope.
Well, I didn't know that.
But I do need to seal around my door really bad. You can see all the way, you can see sunshine all day. I have a question for the chief.
Yes, ma'am.
When did you pay off the property?
2017. That was our last payment.
And how much were you paying a year for that property?
We were paying $180-some thousand.
So you fixed your budget. Is that funding going towards the truck or?
It's going through a lot of different things, Candy, and I don't have the budget in front of me right
Okay.
now, so.
I just wondered, I mean.
Yeah.
Is there still a meeting like we do at the fire station, of a whole, you're going through your whole budget?
Yes.
At some point?
Yeah, there's going to be that meeting. I was just, if I saw the township was going to kick in and work out the funding that way and I didn't have to increase the millage rate,
How
then
much do you need
we were
again?
probably gonna-
900?
right around 900, it could be a little less than that for our first draw. I'd have to look to see what I've got left in carry forward. But I know that Ken would not want me to completely drain that fund, but I think there's some carry forward monies there that we could take.
No, I would not want you to do that either.
Oh, thanks.
But I can get that information. I need to
I was just
update.
curious.
I needed to update, and I was going to print it off today. And unfortunately, I was in a 7-hour meeting talking about fire trucks. The specifications, that's fun. That was actually really good. It wasn't so gory, but it was good. Just long.
Well, we're not making any decisions today, it's just a workshop to discuss, so.
Right.
Right, but if I know the
Yeah, but-
direction.
Yeah,
that's
and
what
I would like to know the direction too. Do we, if Ken says all we need is 50%, how much carry forward do we want to send over for the property?
How much is in it?
1.278 plus 736. So we're at 4, 10, 11, 7, 8, 9, 2,014,000. So if you send over $1 million, you leave us $1 million, and then we got 100,000 to go next year.
If that's true of the numbers, that's the way I'd like to go.
Yeah.
Personally.
Send over
Then you don't have to raise a millage, and
And
that's a
send
good
them
thing as well.
900,000? Is that what we're saying, 900,000?
Oh, I said
No,
$1
said
million and then
million.
do the next, but we can do 900, and
Well,
then do 2 next time,
Our
whatever.
half is 1.1 million, right?
Right.
Well, if he bought it for 2, what did he say?
2.2.
2.2, so ours should be 1.1.
Right, but I was just
That's what I
saying,
said.
Yeah, if we split it half,
But he needs
that's what we're looking at.
900.
Uh,
He needs
David, not
900
to-
right now.
not to-
buy us a
But I only need 900 right now.
we
So
do
Hold
900
on to the
this year,
other.
next year,
And until I need it in 2023, and we can plan on that, and we can go from there, I'm okay with that.
In all
Can
fairness,
we-
though, you bought it for, it cost, you was maybe purchased it for 2.2, but with all the interest that you put a lot more than 2.2 into it, yes?
No, that includes interest.
No.
Oh, okay.
Nope, that includes interest, that's
So
every,
it's the culverts and everything?
that's everything. That's every dime,
Okay.
the down payment that we spent, everything.
So how does that work, just like, well, the legal, Ken can take care, or Stuart can take care of the legal end of it, because if it's all in, is it all like in the fire department name, or is it just in the
Right,
township
right now it's
name?
just
Well,
deeded to you. Or
So here's, I don't know if I want to tell you this one.
It's in
The
the law.
fire department, it's already in your name,
Gotcha,
because the fire department cannot own property.
property, gotcha.
Huh.
So it's already in your name, but
Then you're shit out of luck.
Yeah.
the fire department paid for that. No. The fire department paid for that out
Well,
of their
stand
fund.
over here so they can see.
No, they just need to hear it.
We know your voice.
Yeah, oh yeah, they know my voice. So, but that's the gotcha part, right? Is that the fire department paid
No,
for
it's
it?
not. It's, gotcha. You're fine. I
Okay.
think it's better than raising the millage.
So,
I do too.
Yeah.
so I'll call Ken and see what he has to say, and then I'll, let's see.
I think so.
When do you need us to make the or decision? Does it have to be at our meeting Monday, or can it be on,
Nope,
in
it
September?
can be done later, because then what I'll do is I'll wait,
Because the rest of this is.
our joint meeting, I'll hold it off. If I know that I don't have to raise that millage rate, then I will not ask for that millage rate. We'll hold off until having our joint meeting till September. After you guys have that, we could even be October at that matter. And,
Well,
because
we
all
do-
we're doing is,
We do our truth in
Budget.
taxation in September.
right, but if I'm not increasing,
Right.
then all we have to do is our, where I cover all of our budgets.
So didn't you say last time it's payment on delivery anyway? So
Right.
you're not getting it until
Well, we have to put a down
2019?
payment. We'll have to
Okay,
put a
okay.
down payment when we order, which will be sometime in 2019. And right now, the anticipated build date is anywhere from 280 to 360 days. So we won't be making that final payment for those two trucks until the end of 2019, even the beginning of 2020, potentially. So there's time, and that's the point I was trying to
So we can make
make.
chunk payments too if we wanted to, as long as it's done before the end of 2019.
Right, as long as we know that we're gonna have the money there.
Right.
And so I think the question then would be to.
If we want to do 518 and 519, if we did it like.
You'd probably be able to do that.
Middle of 19.
Would not a
we could
problem.
do that.
Because we would be able to make a down payment, which would not be a problem in 2019, pay it off in 2020. And then,
Well,
we're not paying interest on loans either.
Right.
So there's an additional savings there, huge savings.
Right, so we
Which is
could do
cool.
yeah, okay. I like that too, do 500 and 500, because that would give you enough for down payment.
And that gives you guys some wiggle room in case something
or-
happens.
Or 600 and 500, because we want to get to 11.
Right, right, whatever.
Whatever the case, yep.
Yeah,
Or 550.
Yep.
okay.
But, okay, so the question is, do we still want to put 90 into rainy day? Do we want to bring our rainy day up to 50%? Yes?
Can we wait for Ken's answer?
Yeah, let's get Ken's answer to figure out what that is between the two, like we said. Because is the rainy day and the carry forward on your financial statements or not? So I don't think we really need to decide about the 90.
Okay. What about capital improvements?
Yeah, we can do 88.
88 capital improvements. So this one's okay.
Because we would still,
This one, we're questioning.
well, the 1.278 and the 736 of the 2,014,000, I didn't take the 88 out of there. So if you take 2,014 with 88 out, you're at 1926 then. But if we did part, like I said, if you did 600 and 500, you'll be fine then. Then it won't be such a huge hit on our financials each year either. So yeah, we
Okay.
can still do the 80.
Okay, I'll contact Ken and we'll take it from there. So I think that pretty much does it. For our strategic planning, yay! And I think we also covered fire department millage rates kind of, didn't we?
Yep, I think so.
2 for
They're
1.
kind of on hold to get an answer.
Huh?
So they'll be staying the same if we get the good answer.
Yep.
So that brings us to our 2019 police budget and 2018 millage rates. So in your packet, you've got, let's see, I've got 3 budgets for you. Right now, we are levying 3.8 mils. So if we keep it at 3.8 mils, we look at this one. I would like to put in our strategic planning, what do we want to see our police millage at? My suggestion is 3.5. When we had our, well, if you look at this, which says, North Oakland, no, not that.
Not the comparison.
Where did I go? Do I
The
have
tax
one?
collection charts
Yeah,
where we
that
were
tax
before.
collection one.
Yes, back in 2012, we were at 3.2. 2013, we were 3.5. Yeah, 3.25. And then in 2013, we went to 3.5.
And that board did not want to move off 3.25 for nothing. They were not going to charge the residents any more than 3.25 mils per police. So and there were a couple of us on the board where the max amount we could go was 3.5286. And we were pushing for that, but that board, there were 4 that were steadfast on that 3.25.
Just so I'm clear, okay, you're just talking about going from 3.8 to 3.5 just for 1 year?
No,
because it's going.
no. I'm talking about long-term goal. Where do we want to see the police millage?
I think we need to talk about what Lieutenant Glover wants.
Short-term, yes, short-term goal, my suggestion is 3.7, this one. This is what I think we should go to.
Just for the 1 year, and drop it down 100 is what you're saying.
Yeah.
Because.
And I did have the conversation with Lieutenant Glover. I said, do we want to go to 3.5 and give the residents a break on their taxes? Do we want to hire another officer? Or do we want to, what was the other thing?
I think that was it.
Stay the same.
I believe. Yeah, stay the same, yeah.
I don't want to speak for other taxpayers, but if we keep it the same, I don't look at my bill and say, oh, great, it went down 0.7 only to next year it's going to be up to 4.2. I don't see the point in dropping it for just 1 year. Why not keep it the same so we can put that money forward? Because we know that eventually, I'm assuming that you want an extra officer on second shift eventually.
I want to add another detective is what I want to add.
Oh, okay.
And I'd like,
And I need to do it sooner than later.
and I've talked to Glover and I talked to Kathy, obviously, I have a little bit more talking done
I
because I
have,
prepared
right.
myself, because I prepared myself because I wasn't gonna be here, so I
Okay.
wanted to get out how I felt. So when I was looking at the budgets and looking at all this, let's do a detective like Glover wants, and we could do a detective like Glover wants, and still go down to 3.7, and we still will be reaching 50% at the same time if we stayed at 3.8.
Yeah, if you look at this.
And I did all those numbers, so, and I'd like to add a detective
On
sooner
the
than later,
backside,
like,
what
at-
are fund balances?
when he can get it lined up and we can pass
Does
it.
that-
50%.
Does that
I'd
mean,
like to
just
do it.
for the unschooled, that, I mean, call it what you will, but on second shift, you got a domestic, the southeast corner of the township, that means we still have another car available to be doing something else then?
For me, Scott, I mean, it's kind of the advantage of us bordering Oxford and Independence and Springfield. I mean, if something really hits the fan, I'm not worried about whether we can handle our dispatch calls. But because of the increased calls that we've had every year, and we're already 750 calls ahead of where we were this time last year,
Right.
which is almost off
Yeah, I
the
heard your
charts.
report to the village. and
I mean,
I
it's
was
incredible.
surprised.
And I mean, it just hasn't slowed down. But what that does is it puts more of a tax on my detective. And it's really nice in the summer, you know, now that we keep.
The other thing was getting you a new building.
Yeah, yeah.
Or
At some point,
renovation.
right, or
Renovations,
renovation.
renovation.
Right, but you
Absolutely.
said you were,
Yeah, but that's, in the summer, it hasn't been bad because I do have the school liaison as the extra detective.
Right.
The problem is that we are, if not the highest, the second highest township in the county for sex crimes. And
don't get,
And
yes, I
which
don't understand that.
completely, I mean, a week ago, actually for 2 weeks in a row, my school liaison, who I give most of those cases to, spent the entire week out of this township handling care house interviews.
Not to
And it's
minimize
ridiculous.
that issue, but is it
Yeah.
because we're at 2 and everybody else is at 1, or when you say, what does that
Well,
mean?
for
We're
sure, I
twice
mean,
as much?
that does make a big difference
Yeah.
because you have to handle your caseload with what you have.
Right.
Where other townships such as Independence will have 4 or 5 detectives.
No, I meant when you say we have twice as many sex crimes, does that mean
How
we
many
only
do
have
we
2
have?
versus everyone else has 1, or what does that really mean? How many?
What are
we're
the
talking-
numbers?
Yeah.
As far as number, yeah, and I don't have the exact numbers, but I
Okay.
mean, it's substantial. I mean, this township has a very high.
I want to ask another question, just because it helps with this. I noticed, I don't mean to sound critical, but I noticed a lot of times when you, in our meetings and you did with the village,
Yeah.
I always cringe every time you say, and when we when we have a domestic call, we got to send 2 guys out there and then we don't have any, and I don't want you saying that to the world, you
Well,
know? And I don't,
Yeah,
I
'cause
won't.
then somebody's-
But
That happens
if,
in every township.
yeah, I mean,
But I know, but
for
I
me
don't want to
to,
broadcast it.
but for
because,
me
you know,
to,
He thinks
But
that
I-
everybody's gonna know, oh, there goes the.
no, I see
So
what,
we're
I
gonna
see what
have
you're
to-
saying.
Because if I'm a criminal, I'll say, hey guys, over
Yeah.
the
Yeah,
trailer
they're
park,
not
I'll cause a
watching the
problem.
videos, though. They're not
Believe
watching
me,
the
I mean,
Yeah.
I mean, it's reality, and for your career criminals, they know what we're doing. For,
Okay.
you know, I mean, so
Okay.
it is what it is, Scott. I mean, we're busy, but we can handle the dispatch calls. I'm not worried about that. I mean, when we get overloaded, and we do, if we get tied up on something that requires all of us, Independence comes out and helps us,
Mhm.
Oxford, Springfield, but we do the same, you know, for them when they're overtaxed. So that goes both ways. But our detective bureau cannot keep up with this caseload. Put it this way, we can't keep up on that type of caseload and continually get the
And,
results.
but
and the
you also
closure rate that
say
we
at the
have.
same time that you have one of the highest solve rates, or,
We do.
Yeah.
and so.
So you're doing
Yeah.
pretty good.
Yeah.
But what
Compared to
I,
everybody, you know,
But-
the other people that.
But at the
submitted
same
for
point, I mean, I have a couple guys that are wearing more than one hat, and including myself. And you aren't gonna get that at another township in this county that we patrol.
Okay.
the
And I
one,
can't keep doing that.
the one
No
thing I
complaints
like
here,
about
no.
adding the detective is back when we didn't have a lieutenant and Glover was just the sergeant, there was going to be put in place where there was coverage of a supervisor at
Yes.
different times. And that didn't really get to take place because of
It's been, yeah.
it just didn't get to take place because of some reasons that I don't remember.
It
Because we were
has.
short-staffed,
It
but then
has, but,
also
yeah, it has.
we
but
lost the half person.
because
So,
of
but adding the
the
detective,
court
you're
hours.
gonna be able to do.
Well, what I want to be able to do is if we brought it back to a general assignment detective and added the detective, it would allow me, for the current detective sergeant to oversee that detective bureau, help out when needed, but also it would allow me to put him onto the road during our busiest part of afternoon shift, which is rush hour.
Good.
And he would be still wearing 2 hats, only because that's what he's willing to do.
But doesn't it allow
Because
them
he
to
lives
have, doesn't it allow them to have supervisor at 2 times then instead of
Yeah.
just the 1 time like you
Yeah.
said? Because then it's more of a split shift.
Yeah,
instead of
he
your
would be
guys'
working
shift
more of a
being
split shift, unless we couldn't because of the caseload, because of court. But I mean, for most days, now when he's not busy in court, he'll work an 11 to 7.
the same. Right.
So
How are
that
things-
does give me an afternoon sergeant.
How are
Right,
things
that's what
gonna
I'm
be
saying, you don't
affected?
have that,
I
so
don't
it
have
does,
that
so
right now.
having that detective gives you an extra supervisor
Yes.
when you're off then.
Absolutely.
How are things gonna be affected with the schools leaning towards having full-time security of their own?
That's,
Change it.
yeah, it's not gonna change it at all because,
No?
no, and,
Okay.
They're still gonna have the liaison though.
Okay.
yeah, and Scott, our liaison doesn't oversee that school security.
Okay.
That company is a very good security company for schools, but they're not handling caseloads within the schools. They don't have the authority to. So
Right, so
they're
if there's
strictly for us.
drugs there, if there's drugs there, they
Still going
can't
to the
handle it,
liaison.
still going to our.
So they're guarding the doors.
Absolutely.
Okay.
So when you say detective, is it a uniformed patrol position? or a uniformed
No, it's a-
investigator position?
It's a plainclothes
It is plain.
position for the DV, but like right now, Sean Werner, who's the detective, is in plain clothes. Now, when that changes, he would go to a uniform position on the road. Because he would be a second supervisor, more so than he would the DV. I mean, in the winter, I mean, we slow down a little bit in the winter. Our caseload is not as crazy. But the summer, I mean, we can't keep up.
So can we,
So-
if we wanted to, can we add the person now with our contract, or do we have to wait for our new contract to add somebody?
I think it would have to be, I think it would have to be at contract time.
Okay.
I don't think that we could do it right now without having a contract, a whole new contract.
And I think we need to,
I believe.
I think we have to concentrate on our millage
Renewal,
whatever we call
language.
it.
Yeah.
We're not
No, it's
doing
not a
it.
renewal because it's not renewal.
Right, but
Yeah,
when's
so what do we
contract
call
time, then
it?
that would mean wait till
Are we-
January?
I think we'd have to wait until January.
Replacement?
Replacement.
Yes, replacement.
Yeah, millage replacement. I think we need to concentrate on that, get through that hump. And then levy in December, once we get the money collected in December, then we have the money to work, to employ that person.
Well, when do we sign the contract usually?
Usually around November, we sign the contract for the following year, but it doesn't start until January.
Right, so in
Right.
November, we should be deciding that we're gonna do this or not before when the contract comes.
But it's got to go out for village because their contract is done.
No, I know that. I'm saying if we're gonna add an officer, that should be in the new contract then that we look at in November, if we wanna do that, is what I was
Village,
saying.
yeah, if the millage goes through.
Well, we're gonna be looking at the contract even if the millage goes through or not, if it is, well, the millage is November early enough, so.
7th.
Yeah.
It's the 7th, and I don't know if the contract's before the 7th or
Sixth,
after
sorry.
the 7th.
November 6th.
When do they do their bumps?
Our bump is we have spring and fall.
See, and I think spring is probably the better
Spring and
time.
fall is our bump time.
I'd like to
Because,
do it when we do our contract.
because winter, you don't have as much activity.
It slows down a little bit.
But if you don't wanna do it now because we're in the middle of the contract, why are you gonna do it in the spring when you're in the middle of the
It-
contract?
it
I
is,
would do it in
Because of
November.
bumps, that bumps is
The-
when they change their positions. all
The
over
the bump wouldn't make any difference for us. It would be at contract time because, I mean, we have guys transfer in and out all the time. I mean, the bump is not gonna affect it. They do things by the pay periods, for those transfers.
Well, then, so we're looking at January 1st.
Yeah.
Which would probably be the easiest, yeah.
At contract.
At
We look,
contract
so we
time,
look
yeah.
at it to be in the contract if we decide that's
Yeah.
what we wanna do, and then it'd go into effect January
Right.
1st.
Okay, so I've got to know how many mills to ask for.
So if we're asking for another officer, that's
For us,
what, an extra, how much?
Well, if we do 3.7, and we get the millage rate, for next year, 2020, for the 4.25. You can see that the fund balance is increasing on the back of this sheet. And it's increasing to where we could even go lower after the first year of the new millage to 3.65 mils.
And that includes an extra officer?
Yes. Yes, if you take,
Yeah.
how much is an extra officer, did we say, Kathy?
Well, I think right now,
Extra detective.
Or right.
yeah, it would be a patrol investigator or something. It would be, I think 135.
Yeah, so
190.
Right,
So
so
if you-
2019, you
Is
take
that a
one.
month?
That's the year.
135.
for the year.
For the year.
So if you see the net of revenues over appropriations for 2019, it's 145, that would cover the new officer right there. And
Right.
then and of course, when we get the new millage, we have to levy 4.25, because that's what we're asking for. So that's gonna more than cover it. And then when we get to 2021, we will have 146, which will cover that new officer.
You
So
know-
we want to try to get to 1 million also is what we want as your carry forward. And if you look at the end of 2021, this shows you're at 1568715.
Right, because you're gonna have to
Take
take
out
off about
$135,000.
$300,000, yeah, say roughly. round it up to
135,000 three
300.
times, you're still at 1.163715.
Yeah,
So
which
you're
is
still
good.
at over half
Yeah.
with adding an officer and doing 3.7, 4.25 because you have to, and then dropping it to
Right.
3.6.
Yeah.
Drop it.
And
You
you
know,
still added the opposite.
And with making that change, there'd probably be about, I think, a $2,300 to $2,400 difference also, because right now, he's paid, the detective sergeant is paid at a different rate than as a patrol sergeant. So the rate would go from, I think, for like right now, it's 154 a year, would go down to 151 a year.
Does this budget
That type of-
include changes to the building for air slash?
No, because I discussed that with Greg,
We talked about it.
and the thing is to put like a shower in there, there's no water supply there.
Okay.
So we can't tax the water system there.
Mhm.
We have issues also
Septic.
with the septic.
Yeah.
So we're kind of stuck in a rock and a hard place with that building. The best thing to do is to save money for a new municipal complex, and then get that stuff in there.
Yeah.
They've got air conditioning units, they're in the windows, but they work.
But they can at least
And they can be
improve those
replaced
though, if you
easily.
wanted to at least do that, at least you
And
could
we
make sure
have-
you
You
get.
could put rooftop,
We can at least do
small
something, I just wanna make
rooftops,
sure they're
make it
not,
better.
it's not extra warm there, cause we didn't wanna spend $500 on a new air
But we don't
conditioner.
have venting.
Right. And that's something we were talking about, because like our locker room, for instance, is not air conditioned.
Right.
But the air conditioning units we have in there there are times it is hot in there. And,
If you need a bigger unit though, I'm saying we should be approving that now instead of you guys.
But I don't know
We can I can just go ahead and do that. I
Okay.
don't need board.
but I think to put a unit like for one in that locker room, you have to vent it.
Well, and the
And I don't know how
problem
we
is
do
the window in the locker room is a fixed window, it's not a
Right.
slide.
but the other one isn't.
Which would put a
Slide
air
door.
conditioner off the front sidewalk, which isn't gonna work there either.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
Okay.
Do they spend a lot of time in the locker room?
no,
That
it's
really
just,
bothers me?
it's at shift changes. I mean, there are times it's warm in there. I mean, we make sure that those other air conditioners run at a certain temperature in the summer when it's muggy out, because it can get hot in there.
Yeah.
There's no question. Unfortunately, it's such an old
And
building.
I replaced them all, like.
You just need a
3 or 4
building.
years ago.
Okay.
A different building.
There's no question. We've outgrown that building.
We could find a different building.
There is, we've outgrown the building, and I was in that building when we moved, and to be honest with you, when we moved into that building, it was too small.
Mhm.
And it's just an old building.
So it's kind of like if we're throwing money over there, we're
Band-Aid
just
on it.
putting a Band-Aid on it.
Yeah.
Yeah, the biggest problem I think you have is just it looks so nice from the outside that you can't tell how
Yeah.
bad
It
it
does,
is on the
and to be honest with you,
inside.
it's really not that bad inside, it's just, we've outgrown the building, and you know, not having the air and not having the water capabilities is sometimes a problem.
And a lady locker room.
That is an issue. That is an issue for us. We've made it work, but it's.
So let me ask a question about manpower.
Mhm.
When you get the extra detective,
Yep.
is that going to, because as I'm looking at it here, I'm trying to figure out the shifts. It looks like you'd always have at least 2 officers working.
Yeah,
And
always.
sometimes you have a command officer.
Well, so,
working.
on day shift,
Okay.
sometimes we can have up to, let me see, 1, 2, 3. On a Wednesday, we could have as many as 6 guys on the road,
Really? No.
including myself and the sergeant and the detective.
Okay,
On
so.
Wednesdays is a training day for us, so there's always
Oh,
3
okay.
patrol cars on the road, unless they have training.
So
Now-
the extra guy would give you, I'm guessing he'd be like a swing shift to cover more as a supervisor?
The supervisor would be,
Yeah,
yes.
okay, all right.
Yeah. And I've already talked about that with him, because that's not an easy shift to get somebody to work, you know that. But Sean lives here in the township, and he is willing to do like an 11 to 7, you know, 10 to 6, depending on the day.
Right.
To give us that overlap into afternoons, which I don't have right now.
Okay.
I mean, on that shift, we don't have a supervisor. And we've been fortunate because Independence has an afternoon sergeant that if something crazy happens that requires a supervisor, she either calls me or they call Sean, and we just come in.
I have one more question, and you know the buildings, I've only been in your building, I've only been in there twice now. I've only been into OTV twice. Is there any merit to just a quick guess, swapping the 2? I know that they have all this extra space over there at OTV that I just don't, is it more space than what you have now?
No.
And I don't think so.
No? Okay.
And parking would be our
Parking.
issue too.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
Very good.
and then you got
Doesn't
OTV
OT
moving all their equipment, I think. would
Yeah,
be
it
huge,
would help
too.
us.
I'm just throwing it out there. Okay.
Now, the building that I was kind of interested in,
Buildings. just
was,
bad if worse.
was the one straight across from the fire station. And me and Kathy
Oh,
had
that
talked
Flo's
about
moved into?
that, yeah, that they moved into because that building was a lot better and for parking it would have been perfect.
Oh,
But
you actually
there's
have the
a,
side there.
there's a business that's went in there, somebody bought, you know.
Yeah.
They're renovating that.
And we even,
Yeah.
we even
Yeah.
were talking about purchasing Thompson's Hardware,
Interesting.
Oh.
but no parking.
Yeah, there's no parking.
And that
and the
buil-
renovation
that building's
cost,
just
so-
as old.
Yeah.
Maybe older.
That could be a lot, okay.
But the, adding that detective would help us huge, and it would give me some flexibility with that sergeant. That I
I haven't heard anybody
right
debate
now.
negative on that, so I think
Yeah,
you're
would.
sold on that one.
So we put it down as 4.2 and then start dropping it, is that what you're saying?
No, for this winter, we would collect 3.7. The
Following
millage,
winter.
the millage that they're voting on does not go into effect till 2019,
Right,
So
December.
that would be 4.25.
right, that's what I'm asking.
Right.
I knew it was already set for this year.
And then it
No,
would
it's
go,
not
and then it would
very
drop.
little.
No,
And
we
then
have to
increase.
set it for 19.
Okay. I
For-
thought they were
Well,
done
for
in 18.
December of 18, that we collect to spend for 19.
Your winter taxes.
Right.
The
Not
winter
winter ta-
taxes.
I thought they,
No, that's our truth in taxation.
That's what we're
That's
doing
why
right
we're
now.
looking at the 3.7 for this winter.
okay,
The 4.25 would not actually be collected until the December of 2019. And we did it that way so that we had extra time in case the millage got voted down. Then we could take it back to the voters.
What difference is it gonna make to drop it from 3.8 to 3.7 to
About
an
20
average
bucks.
cup? Right, I don't think it's
Well,
worth that.
I don't either. I don't see
Because-
And
the
then
point.
jump it right back up to
Right.
4.25.
I agree.
Well, you have to jump it back up.
Yeah.
That's where I
So
feel
then
like,
don't bring
but
it
why
down.
not, why not bring it down just to give them a little relief since you're gonna jump it so high, so then it's,
no,
you
I
I
think
know,
most
they're
people
gonna
look
get
at it and go,
average
you don't know
this
what
year.
you're doing.
I think if I was paying attention to it, I'd say, why did they drop it? Only to up it.
Yeah.
And
Well,
it's
you
just
upped
better
it
to keep
because
the
you had,
same.
you upped it because you had to. You're gonna drop it the year after you up it though.
Not
Maybe.
necessarily. I
Well,
mean, it's not in stone. that they
Right.
there's no
have to.
reason not
Yeah.
to though. There's no reason
That we
not to,
know
though.
of.
Well,
If
There
there's a
is,
new
if
building
we need more
discussion, there will be,
officers,
yeah.
or we need a
this
building.
That's gonna be
is
further
where
away.
we make the decision on what we want to, if we want to lower taxes. And people out there want us to lower taxes. You hear it all the time.
I know.
I'm not
but
sure,
it's such a-
I'm not sure.
We
people-
Not
pay
all
too
amount.
much taxes.
And I'm not sure people are willing to lower taxes though when it comes to public safety.
That's
But
what
we're
I
still,
think.
but we can still lower and we
But
can
we
still
can-
add an
This
officer.
is where we control
Yeah.
what we pay
And
in
add, I
taxes.
agree.
We can still add an officer and still lower.
I wouldn't go to anybody if we did this after the fact and say, hey, we lowered the millage on your police rate. Because it's just such a
And we're
nominal.
giving you an officer.
But I wouldn't even say that because it's such a nominal amount. Oh, and by the way, we're also bumping it up to 4.25 the next year.
No.
It's just kind of
that's
it's
what they're
just smoke and
voting on.
mirrors to me. I don't see the point in dropping
So
it.
Well, you don't have a
happens if it
choice but to
fails?
raise it to
Pardon me?
4.25.
I want to
I
know what happens if this November election police millage fails.
we
Then
come
where
back
are we
to the
at?
drawing board.
Then we have to go
We're
ask
in
for
trouble.
another millage. Well, I don't
That's why I
think
really, really wanted it in August, because if it did fail for any
It's
reason,
still
which
bad.
I
Yeah.
don't really think it would, but if
I
it
don't
did,
either.
we have no backup plan.
Right.
I'm still
when-
surprised at
the last time that they approved it, what was the, what was it, probably 80/20? As far
But-
as-
It's the same thing, it's like.
Look
No,
how
it
many
wasn't, it was
people.
closer than that?
Yep.
Really? I guess maybe people just look at police differently. I just, one thing I'm not willing to sacrifice at all. so.
Let's see, did I put that, I think I put in.
That's okay.
Packet.
That's not a fair question for me to ask after.
When we did that survey way back, if you
Yeah,
wanted more police, if you wanted, they wanted more police, but they didn't want to pay for them.
And actually,
Yeah.
and actually what I did was I took all of the police, so we have this little,
So that's why to lower the police millage is a good thing.
so when you take
They don't wanna
this,
pay for it.
when you take this, and I averaged all the townships that were about our size and what their police mills were at, they're all at about 3.5 average. So that's where I'm saying, if you drop to 3.7, yeah, it's only saving 0.1, but then next year you gotta go to 4.25, so in the long run, you're helping because then you're jumping, and then you can go back down, and you can still add an officer. So yes, it's only 0.1, but it's better than nothing.
Yeah, exactly.
And you're still adding an officer. So you're saying, look, we can save you some money, we're adding an officer, because yeah, the following year, we're gonna have to raise it because we need a new millage.
Well, would you like to come into the treasurer's office in
Yeah.
November and listen to the angst I get on a daily basis for that?
Why do we have to raise it to 4.25?
Why'd you take
Why
it
don't
down
we-
just to
why
jack
don't
it
we
back
leave it
up?
where it
It's
is?
just smoke and mirrors.
That's my question, Dave.
Well, but you have to put it up though, that you don't have a choice.
I understand that and you understand that, but Joe public does not.
We do not have to put it at 4.25.
Yes, we
Put it on the
do.
ballot. No, we do not.
We do not. But we,
Oh,
You
the
don't
ballot,
need to
you're
call it a
saying, okay.
replacement. If it's a replacement, you have
Yes,
to.
replacement
You
we
could put
do,
a
new we don't.
police millage at a lower rate and save.
So you're saying the ballot doesn't have to read 4.25?
If you don't call it a replacement, no.
It's not
What
a
are we calling
replacement.
Police
it?
millage.
Was this just for me or just for him too?
Yeah, so why would you put that out there?
because it's we did it at 4.25 because it's an 8-year millage and because of the Headley Amendment.
And it rolls back.
Now,
back.
last time I fought against it because the Headley rollback hadn't affected us hardly at all because
Yeah.
of the economy tanking and
Right.
everything. But just in the last couple of years, it was considerable how much the Headley rolled us back. And that's why we're asking for 4.25, because it's an 8-year-long millage. We want to have enough money there for police.
What could the eight-
after 8 years?
What's the typical rollback per year?
The Headley?
Yeah, the Headley.
It's 2% of the cost of living, whichever one is least.
Well, what's it been about on the millage rate dropping? I mean, could it get you from 4.25 to below 3.5?
I can get that information if I can go back to my office.
No, I'm just wondering, Kathy, could it take
I
you
don't
from
know.
4.0, let's say we decided to do the replacement to 4.0, could it take you from 4.0 to 3.5 in 8 years?
Yes. Well, that's half a mil, maybe not, but maybe it'd take you to 3.7.
So if you're trying to get to 3.5, then why not do 4.0 here, because that's still not gonna get you that high.
Now you've really messed up the budget and the assumptions that we made for getting another officer, and then the whole reason that she was able to take this year's down to 3.7 is because the other one was gonna be
I'm just talking, because
4.25.
Candy just said we didn't have to put 4.25 here, we could put
You
4.20.
can put in 3 if you want. It doesn't.
I
it's
thought
a
not
new
that-
one on the
It's a new
ballot.
one, honey.
It's a
Brand
new one.
new.
This says replacement.
Well, you weren't listening when I said we would not have a replacement, it would be police millage. You can make any rate you want. If it's replacement, it's 4.25.
That's a
That's
renewal.
what we did.
But-
Okay,
but
and what do you
we
think is going
already
to-
discussed it, and we already decided it would be a 4.25 replacement. That happened already.
I'm not in favor of reducing this year
I'm with
one.
Candy.
Yeah, I'm not.
I'm
either.
not.
What about you, Scott?
Yeah, I'm with, I don't want to reduce it either.
You want 3.8?
I just don't see that, we're just playing switchy-do here.
Yep, Bob.
And
Yeah, I agree. I don't,
Just leave it.
3.8?
just leave it, yeah.
Then when,
Right.
after the year
3.8.
passes, we can try to drop it.
That's
and
what
down.
we'll put it at.
that's,
Right.
that's an
Right,
option.
and
I'm
that would look
absolutely in
good.
favor of
But you
that.
take it down and jack it and then take, no.
Okay, so
people
then the
get-
year
it's
after it
gonna make
replaces,
people
maybe we drop
Yeah.
it to
Wouldn't it?
3.5.
Correct.
Instead of the
Maybe even
4.25.
lower. Maybe even lower.
But it's better to have the
Okay.
higher option out there, and you can always drop
If it
Make
it.
was
that note,
for
though.
2 years, if it was for 2 years, I would be in favor
So we
of going
stay
that
at
one.
3.8,
But not for one.
we add an
For-
I
officer,
Just say
don't think it's
20
make
and
that much of a
then
difference.
No,
share
it
try to
is.
do
And
3.5.
people don't.
I think if it's about
They
a,
don't do,
Kathy,
yeah.
so we can
My
look
guess
at
is
it.
half the people don't even know
Keep it
this.
3.8.
Oh, they do.
4.25.
Really?
Oh, yes.
No, I'm just saying.
I have to say, I'm one of those people
No,
that.
we're making a discussion, I'm
no,
saying we
when
can
you're
look
looking at the
it.
bill, what you focus on is right to the school bond. Boom, that's the number you're
For a
paying.
discussion. I'm not
That's the
saying
big
it's
amount.
half.
I'm
I'm
horrible
making
like
notes for my
that. It's
discussion.
all on escrow.
Yeah.
And I was like, I never
And
pay
that's why.
attention.
Oh, that's why, because it's an
Yeah.
escrow.
Yeah, see, you're the treasurer's best
And
friend.
You're the one that comes in and goes, what does PRE mean?
Yeah.
She's the one that makes it though, I don't make it.
Yeah,
I don't
it's
think
on
it
my
is.
computer.
Maybe it could go down to 3
It could, yes.
It
0.
wouldn't go 3.0, I can tell you that.
Why? We got a lot more homes coming. And we're gonna increase population with school children.
Oh, they don't pay taxes, though.
No,
Well, they
no, they
can't come
don't.
without parents, sorry.
You have to put a toll booth every 50 feet.
So we're, A 3.8, is that what you're thinking?
Stay
That's what
three.
they
Stay at
want.
3.8.
So we're gonna advertise for 3.8, everyone,
Yep.
okay?
Which is just the same as before.
And then
Yep.
we're gonna vote on it in September in truth and taxation. Okay?
So what would be the plan, just so I know, I mean, as far as waiting until that contract,
Yeah.
until the contract's renewal, which would be after the first of the year?
If you don't think we could do it now, then I mean, that's the first chance
I
we
mean,
could
to
do
be honest
it.
with you, I mean, we can do.
I wouldn't
we can deal with
make
it
a,
now.
I
New
wouldn't make a
contract.
decision until after the election,
Yeah.
but that should give us time
Sure.
for the new contract, I would think.
Yeah.
I just like to sooner the better, so if it can happen now, it happens now. That's my opinion, but if it's gotta wait for the contract, I can wait for the
Yeah,
contract.
I can too. Really.
I would wait for the election and the contract.
Yeah.
The election is
Yeah.
gonna reassure us.
Right.
Well, the
Right,
election's
right.
the election's gonna be right by the contract too,
Yeah.
because it's all November.
Yeah,
so.
that might be the time, for sure. Okay.
All right, where's my agenda? I think we're all done, right?
Yeah.
Okay, there's no citizens, so I'm not gonna read this today.
Okay.
What did you get these for, Monday night's meeting? Just information for tonight?
No, that was for the capital improvement stuff.
You only gave us one copy here, so who's it for?
That was-
I don't know what it's called.
Yeah.
Here, here's the other one.
Okay, thank you.
I don't think I have one, so I don't know, I put this together before. That was a while ago. So I'm sure I have all that on my computer.
So you made a statement, Kathy, that you suspected there's gonna be Parks and Rec hubbub on Monday night,
Yes.
and that's not on the agenda, so they're just gonna,
Citizens comment.
so they gotta wait till the end then? Okay, because I hope that they're clear on that, because if you're because now I'm hearing we're adding Sleepy Hollow to the agenda for Monday, that's all of a sudden gonna be a packed house again. Maybe, potentially, you just never know, but I'm just saying.
The moratorium.
Yeah.
Oh.
It's for,
But we're
for
gonna
that
add
red
it,
issue, they're gonna
but we're
come
gonna
in.
add it at the meeting.
I'm hoping that some rumblings have stopped from the parents I've talked to. I did come to the coaches meeting on Thursday.
You were here for that? Because
I
I
came
wanted
to
to come
that.
and I didn't show up.
I came.
I didn't want to cause any more, because if they knew I was on Parks and Rec, I just didn't want to be adding to the problem.
Actually, there was no issues there. It was a great meeting. I'm glad I
Okay.
came. I helped give some ideas to Fred and
Okay.
to the coaches and stuff. I kind of listened as an outside person and.
Well, I'd like to hear, from a baseball dad, what he thinks, as well.
Well, I mean,
I'm not asking you
This
as
isn't on our
Lieutenant
no,
Glover.
no,
I'm
I'm
asking
not,
you-
and I'll tell you, this question has come up with the individual that is, I mean, first of all, the guy that's the director, I've played ball with for years, and he is not that type of guy. The coach, in my opinion, as a dad or a citizen out here, that one dad that was involved in the other half of that should have never been coaching on that field. He's been a problem for years. He continues to be a problem, and why he's allowed to coach out there
Is it fixed
is
now?
beyond me.
Is it fixed
The
now?
season's over.
I know,
Yeah,
is
fix
it-
itself.
To
Yeah.
make people happy, have we said, okay, well, he's not going to be a coach anymore?
No, they're, no,
Well,
no.
That's what I'm asking. I
we
just-
said it and then we took it back.
Okay.
Type of thing, so I don't think it's really been decided one way or
Did you
another
have a
for
meeting
next
though?
year, exactly what we're doing.
Didn't you have a
As far as
meeting
for the
yesterday,
director,
Kathy?
Huh?
For the director's spot, or that,
For the coaching.
the coach?
And so what happened this year that was wrong is we had a coach be a site director.
Yes.
And
That's
just,
not gonna happen.
and no matter who it
Should never
is,
accept
it's
Should
not.
never be.
Because it puts that guy in a bad spot no matter what.
Exactly, exactly.
Okay.
So that's
And
not
so-
going to happen.
Okay.
And so that did get changed, because I brought it up to Fred, so that's not a good idea.
Okay.
He got another site director, but the original one that he had still, everybody thought he had a lot of influence.
Yeah, the
which he
damage
probably
already happened.
Did some,
Yeah.
yeah.
But, I mean, to me, if that was my division, and I look at the problems that one coach out there has caused year after year, how do you allow that guy to coach?
Right.
How do you allow him
And
to
it's not the
be
same guy.
around those kids
Right.
and around those families? I was out there last year when that championship game was played, and I watched him front the opposing coaches
You're talking
out.
about
But is he the
Yes,
guy
Matt
that,
Warren.
was he the reason that you guys got called out there that day
That was one of them, yeah.
He's-
Okay.
Yeah, that would involve him.
Right,
I mean, the
that's
guys-
what I was concerned by, because the language that I heard was
Oh.
used in front of kids and or parents. It just doesn't fly no matter what the reason, right?
No, with the director, and
And does he have a record?
the director?
A record? Man.
Oh, yes.
See,
Yes.
and
Oh,
that,
yeah.
that needs to be brought up to Fred's attention.
Yeah, I tell you, but I,
Because he should be.
I'm
Yeah,
not,
he should be checking it.
Yeah, he checked
Which is still
records.
recording,
We
right?
used to do background checks.
I'm not sure we should be talking about.
Well,
Yeah.
no, I think it's actually good. I'd like
We
to
used
get
to
some of
on
this
all our
ironed
photos.
out before the meeting, so maybe some of these parents know that they don't need to show
But
up.
they're coming for a different person.
Oh.
Yeah, this is something
They're not-
different.
They're
But
not,
there was also a woman
Oh, I didn't know
involved
that.
with the
There's
mouth
something
and
else there's
swearing.
an issue.
I mean,
they're coming
That
for the
was
guy that was
antagonizing.
a coach
It's like
and a
director
site
was-
director.
Okay.
I mean,
And
flat
they're-
out attack.
Yeah.
Some are coming in support, and
Yeah.
some are coming against.
Yeah.
I
I
guess
think
it
we
would
just
be
have to
nice,
wait and see.
As a
what
Parks and Rec
happens.
committee member, I guess I'd like to know a little bit more
Oh,
about
I
what's
think
going
I'm
on
feeling
before I go to the
sick.
meeting.
Fred's
Honest
on
with you.
vacation all this week.
But can I come in and talk to you guys on Monday and just, you guys kind of give me an update, so at least I'm aware of what the
Yeah,
issue
you
is?
know what?
I still haven't had it.
You can, when you come tomorrow.
Okay.
Yeah, there you go.
I need to show you that
Here.
picture of
Okay.
the road that
She's
she
got,
showed you.
they have incident report from the umpires.
It's on
Okay.
Homer Lake Road,
And
right
you can
before you
read
get
those.
to.
Okay, I'll talk to her. It's just that I know
Yeah.
she's
I
always,
think it
she's
is. I have to
great,
look at
but I think
something.
sometimes she's hesitant to, doesn't want to get anybody in trouble, so she doesn't tell me everything, and I just want to make sure I'm hearing the
Well, the
straight
umpires
story.
can show you about where
came
it
to
is.
the office this afternoon and they were talking it over.
Okay, okay,
Pretty much it's settled down.
okay.
And that's what I think between the families that I've talked to, I think the rumblings have stopped, so I'm hoping that it's not going to be too.
And the
Okay.
season's over and.
And the
Hopefully
meeting
that's
went
calmed
good
down.
on Thursday, I can
Hopefully
tell you
it's
that.
calmed down.
Okay.
I know originally there was a talk of like 50, 60 people. I
Yeah.
think with time it's kind of,
With time,
Lost a little
and you got
bit.
vacations, and you got, and I think that, yeah.
And maybe if they know they have to sit through a 4-hour meeting before they can even talk.
Wait, hold on.
That'd change anybody's
Yeah,
mind.
exactly.
So
Try to
are we
show where it's at.
dismissed
Do you know where
now?
it's at that, oh, like,
Yeah,
dismissed.
wait a minute, I gotta get my.
I moved to
Here we
dismiss.
go.
I support.
All right, who would like to
Different
second?
home, okay.
Second.
And you don't move to dismiss, you move to adjourn, correct?
Yes,
Yes.
he's moved to adjourn.
And you're seconding.
Second is,
All right, so I have a motion by trustee Marshall and a second by trustee Broughton to adjourn this meeting. All in favor say aye.
Aye.